Good morning. For the record, my name is Tanya Fernandez Anderson, the District 7 City Councilor. I am the chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. This hearing is being recorded. It is being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv, the broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. The Council's budget review process will encompass a series of public hearings beginning in April and running through June. We strongly encourage residents to take a moment to engage in this process by giving testimony for the record. You can give this in several ways. Attend one of our hearings and give public testimony. We will take public testimony at the end of each departmental hearing and also at a hearing dedicated to public testimony. The full hearing schedule is on our website, boston.gov/council-budget. Our scheduled hearing dedicated to public testimony is on Wednesday, May 17th at 6 p.m. You can give testimony in person. Where?
Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. You can give testimony in person here in the chamber or virtually in Zoom. For in-person testimony, please come to the chamber and sign up on the sheet near the entrance. For virtual testimony, you can sign up using our online form on our council budget review website or by emailing the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. When you are called to testify, please state your name and ensure that all comments and concerns can be heard. Your name, affiliation, residence, and limit your comments to a few minutes so that all comments and concerns can be heard. Email your written testimony to the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. Submit a 2-minute video of your testimony through the form on our website. For more information on the City Council budget process and how to testify, please visit the City Council's budget website at boston.gov/council-budget. Today's hearing is on docket 0760 to 0762, orders for the FY24 operating budget, including annual appropriations for departmental operations for the school department and for other post-employment benefits, OPEB. Dockets 0763, 0765 to 0766, orders for the capital fund transfer appropriations. Dockets 0764, 0767 to 0768, orders for the capital budget, including loan orders and lease purchase agreements. Our focus area for this hearing will be an overview of the FY24 budget for the Boston School Department with regard to grant funding reform, community program, we'll just say that it's an overview of FY budget for the Boston Public Schools. Our panelists to today's hearing are Mary Skipper, Superintendent. Good morning, Superintendent. Thanks for being here. Dr. Linda Chen, Senior Deputy Superintendent of Academics. Dr. Sam DePina, Deputy Superintendent of Operations. Dr. Drew Etchelson, Chief of Schools and Accountability. Dr. Anna Tavares, Deputy Superintendent of Equity, Community and Family Engagement. Nate Kruger, Chief Financial Officer, and David Bloom, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. I am joined today by my colleagues, Councilor Liz Braden and Councilor Julia Mejia. For our format, I will go directly to the administration for a presentation. First, I'd just like to ask for my council colleagues if they have just a 30-second opening statement. After your presentation, we'll give a presentation of our breakdown if necessary, if my council colleagues encourage that they have a further aggregate data on your budget, as well as public testimony, if any are here in person, then into second round of questions, and then we'll come back to any public testimony online. Councilor Mejia, do you have an opening statement?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the administration for being here. I really do appreciate the smaller PowerPoint. Thank you. It's great to see. Superintendent Skipper, welcome to your first budget.
Thank you.
And I really do appreciate your partnership over the last 6-7 months since you've been acclimating. It has been incredibly refreshing, to say the least, to work alongside your team on some family engagement. This morning I was at the Sumner School. I've been working with that school to help increase the Latino parent engagement efforts.
Yes.
So I really do hope that we're learning how to be more collaborative. The best way for you to know how to advocate is to actually roll your sleeves up and be inside these schools, because you learn differently. For this particular budget, I know I've been incredibly patient and gracious, but it seems like there's still so much more work that we need to do, and I have 4 pages of questions, Nate, that I'm most likely going to ask you to really lean into. And, our role is to be advocates and to fight for the people who put us here. I guess at some point, no more free passes, and the budget is the opportunity for us to really hold the administration accountable, and I'm looking forward to doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. For those watching at home, there were a couple of hearings on BPS today, but I had to make room for redistricting process, and so a couple of dates have been moved, and you will get the updated schedule soon. So that there was today, this afternoon's canceled, and the remaining virtual still stands on the same days. And then there's at least one for this afternoon. It will be moved later, probably after the virtual hearings that we have. BPS. So the next hearing will be May 22nd, virtually, and at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. And then again at June 5th at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. And I'll be updating for the other days soon. All right, to the administration, please give your introduction, and hopefully the clicker is working. We'll get right to it.
Great. So thank you, Madam Chair. I'm delighted to be here with you today to discuss the budget for the upcoming year. I want to begin by thanking our mayor, this body, and our school committee for their past and continued support of our school district. We've all heard this before, but I truly believe that our budget is a statement of our values. Our goal is to create a budget that reflects our commitment to providing all of our families and students with the necessary supports and resources they need to succeed. Our regional model and the hard work of our leadership team have enabled us to become a more stable district. We are now in a position to make a shift in our thinking and mindset around how we serve those students who have been historically underserved in our district, our Black and Brown students, our students with disabilities, and our multilingual learners with and without disabilities. We must make educational equity a reality and ensure that all of our students have access to the same opportunities and resources, and that is why equity is at the core of every investment we make. We are adding equity specialists in our regional model to build capacity and focus on developing culturally and linguistically affirming practices and providing support across the schools. We are also investing in our recruitment and retention, cultivation, and diversity departments to help ensure that our staff, both in central and school-based, reflect the communities we serve. We are prioritizing family and community engagement, inclusive education, increasing bilingual education and native language access, deepening our work in equitable literacy, and expanding our early college and career pathways programming to help students earn the college credits they need to graduate and pursue their dreams. Given we are still very much in recovery and healing mode from the pandemic, we are investing in additional social emotional supports, such as bilingual social workers for our SLIFE students, building capacity in our networks for restorative justice practices and peer mediation, increasing and aligning our supports for chronic absenteeism across our regions, and strengthening our investment in health services and mental health supports for our students and schools. I'm proud of my team and the work they have done to make this budget a reality, and if approved, all of the needed resources it will bring to our school communities. Since the chair has done introductions of who's on the committee, I just want to thank our team, and I'll now turn it over to Chief Cooter to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Superintendent, and good morning, counselors. We open all of our presentations with this quote from the Opportunity Achievement Gap Policy. It was the starting point for our planning and therefore is a fitting start to this afternoon's presentation, or this morning's presentation, excuse me. The fiscal year 2024 budget for the Boston Public Schools is guided by the belief that every child in every classroom in every school deserves the same, and for some historically underserved students, even greater opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. As we strive to ensure equity of opportunity and enact anti-racist decisions, we're called upon to maintain focus on our values and how those values are demonstrated through our budgets. Throughout today's presentation, we'll continue to reference two major themes, which the superintendent herself emphasized throughout our planning process. The first is that each of our investments must be designed to close opportunity achievement gaps for our most marginalized students, including Black and Latinx students, students with disabilities, and our multilingual learners. The second theme is community and family engagement. We must continue to partner with our community to ensure that we are responsive to their experiences and expectations for their students. The superintendent has identified 6 budget priorities. First, that the district-wide inclusive education opportunities. Second is to strengthen our supports and programming for multilingual learners. Third, ensuring every student has access to grade-level materials through our equitable literacy work. 4, supporting our students' social, emotional health and well-being. 5, preparing our students for life after graduation. And 6, strengthening our partnerships with families and communities. All of these priorities must be looked at through an equity lens, and we must be intentional about providing each student with what they need to succeed to further close opportunity achievement gaps. And as the superintendent mentioned, not only is our budget a statement of values, but in this context, in a lot of ways, this budget serves as a transitional budget. In addition to the need to plan for the last year of ESSER, we received several reports midway through the budget process. And throughout our City Council hearings this year, we'll discuss not only our immediate actions funded for FY24, but we'll also be presenting how we see our long-term work that will inform the budgets for FY25 and FY26. Understanding a $1.4 billion budget can be a daunting task. So this slide is my best attempt to provide a comprehensive yet easily understandable version of how our budget is changing. The changes in our budget from FY23 to this proposal can be broken down into 3 main categories: strategic investments, increased costs, and long-term sustainability. The first category is strategic investments. Since returning to BPS, Superintendent Skipper gathered different people's perspective and experiences about what's working in the district and the community priorities. These perspectives have informed this proposal and helped shape our priorities for FY24. The second category is increased cost. This represents the cost increases we incur because of the rising cost of providing the same level of service. Of course, we always strive to be efficient and effective district office, that serves our schools and students well. But you'll see a majority of our cost growth coming from collective bargaining, transportation, facilities, and special education. And the final budget category is long-term sustainability. BPS has two sustainability challenges facing our district. ESSER coming to an end and managing the general funds allocated to hold schools harmless from enrollment declines for the last 2 years. This budget aims to maintain critical services to schools in the coming year while ensuring the school budgets begin to address their hold harmless dollars in a strategic way. Our overall budget proposal is requesting $71.7 million increase over fiscal year 23. BPS is incredibly fortunate to have the continued support of this council, the mayor, and the city of Boston. The mayor's message to us was clear. Build a better future, we must ensure our students have access to quality learning opportunities every day. We know that improving access to quality will take major investments, and with the mayor's commitment of $50 million over the next several years, we have the resources to build inclusive school communities. We're also set to begin a new era of partnership with the Boston Teachers Union and other unions that will ensure every classroom in Boston Public Schools is inclusive for all students. In addition to our operating commitment, the mayor's commitment of $2 billion in capital investments, separate and distinct from this presentation on operating, we'll have resources to launch a new era of school building projects with the Green New Deal for BPS. I mentioned already that the critical thing we need to think about as we plan for this budget and future year are two key sustainability challenges: ESSER coming to an end and managing enrollment declines. This budget aims to not reduce critical services to schools, and schools were not asked to cut their budget to balance based on enrollment declines. But this has required us to do two key moves. The first is we're moving critical services currently funded by ESSER onto the general fund. We're working with schools to identify those things that they've already funded on ESSER that are strategically aligned and having an effect on students, and we move them to the general funds in this year. That ensures that our general funds have the most critical investments already sustained. At the same time, we're also shifting hold harmless support from the general fund to ESSER. This approach that means that schools will not be required to make cuts or services, but they are moving from the general fund and onto ESSER, a less sustainable funding source. For the last 2 years, we've not asked schools to make cuts or to look critically at the number of classrooms in their overall school. This was intentional. We needed to figure out how much of the enrollment declines were temporary and pandemic related. This year, in the current year that we're operating, enrollment has declined by less than projected, showing that this approach was at least partially warranted. Despite that, we're still anticipating continued enrollment declines in future years due to broader demographic trends, as have been seen in other urban centers regarding the overall decrease in school-age children and smaller entry grade cohorts. In the next few fiscal years, schools will not be able to rely on hold harmless policy to maintain their extra capacity. So as a district, we need to confront our district's challenging realities and shift resources in a way that meets student needs and accelerates improvement. Our budget is available online at bostonpublicschools.org/budget. It's available in Excel and PDF. However, if you wanted to familiarize yourself with our budget in one slide, this is it. We break our budget down into 4 key categories. The first is direct school expenses. These are items that are budgeted in schools and represent the largest portion of our budget. This is where you see the budget for the majority of our teachers and paraprofessionals, our leaders of our schools, and other services that you see directly in schools. We also have a category of spending that we call school services budgeted centrally. Those are items in a central budget. So if you look at our tables by central office, you'll see them there. But they're actually located in schools. An example of this is our custodians. The majority of our custodians are allocated directly to schools, but are budgeted for in our facilities department. The third category is central administration. This includes the superintendent, the central academics team, and other central office supports. This is what you traditionally think of as the district office supporting our schools. And finally, we have a category we refer to as non-BPS student services. Those are services like transportation to charter schools that we provide to Boston residents in non-BPS schools. This is also a major expense for us of out-of-district special education services. As I mentioned, all of our resources can be found online. We'll be posting translated version of all documents in our major languages. And with that, that concludes our presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, Chairwoman, for questions.
Thank you so much, Nate. Quick and concise, I guess, as one of the counselors asked for. I'm going to go to my council colleagues first. Councilor Braden, just wanted to acknowledge as well that Council President Flynn has joined us and Councilor Coletta has joined us. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for your presentation. This is the annual rite that we go through, reviewing the school budget. I was interested in just the idea of the inclusive school communities in terms of what sort of scaffolding we have to put in to ensure that that's a successful strategy. Are we, in terms of co-teaching models, or what are you thinking about that, and what will be the specific added costs to doing that? I think I am in support of it, but I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to work.
Sure. So I'll start, and then I'll have my colleague, Dr. Chen, under which special education falls. So our inclusive communities is really general education practice. It's building our communities in a way that different than is currently exists. Our special education students don't have to go to particular programs in particular schools, but rather they have full access throughout the district to be able to attend schools that can meet their needs. This came off of a historic agreement with the teachers union back in the summer, by which it'll be about a 5-year implementation of it. For us in the district, the Council of Great City Schools report really underscored that many of our issues in special education are rooted in the fact that we have too many students, particularly our Black and Brown students, concentrated in substantially separate settings. And so thereby they're not getting access to the type of rigor and grade level material and curriculum that's needed. So this really is an initiative that will change a mindset throughout our district that will touch all parts of it. On the operational side, it goes from enrollment and how we enroll students to our transportation and where we have to transport students, to eventually our funding formula relative to next year with our reimagining funding, of how we think about supporting the needs of students with disabilities and multilingual learners with disabilities. On the academic side, it really is rethinking what the service looks like for our students and how they receive it. So what you're talking about, is it a dual teacher situation, a co-teacher situation? Is it a push-in situation or a pull-out situation? This is where it really is about, and why the teachers union was so important to be partners with us, is clearly redesigning how special education services are delivered, first by training our field in what we called MTSS, which is our multi-tail support system. And that means that every classroom teacher will have a new set of skills that they don't currently. So there'll be intensive professional development over the next several years for this. Additionally, it has to do with how we write our IEPs for students, that the services aren't in a particular program in a particular school, but rather in the classroom itself and what that looks like. So this is something, bless you, that on the Council of Great City Schools, they made a lot of, I think, really thoughtful and good recommendations based on how other large urban districts like ours carry this out and execute it. We see this as at least a 4 to 5 year initiative, with next year being a deep planning year, with inclusion planning teams budgeted for each of the schools, and particularly for the 9th grades in the high schools. You'll be hearing more and more of this. It'll require an investment each year. This year, as you can see, it's our number one investment, because we believe this will transform the practice of strong Tier 1 instructional support and focus in the classrooms, along with those types of materials that are going to allow all students, but particularly our students with disabilities, that access. Dr. Chen, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add?
Sure. Thank you, Counselor, for your question and for your support. First and foremost, the work around inclusive education is our top priority because it is about making sure that every one of our students across the city, particularly in areas where we've, as a system, historically underserved our students. So it really is about making sure that we embrace every student. This is certainly about special education inclusion, but it really is inclusive all around. That every one of our students is seen as assets for their cultural, linguistic, and neurodiverse assets they bring into our classrooms. With that, your question is particularly important because it is about support, as you're asking about. And number one, it is making sure that our educators are prepared to be able to truly see every student for their assets and strengths. And that requires professional development, understanding cultural, linguistic, and neurodiversity. Our partnership with the Boston Teachers Union is a big part of this work. So I won't say more than what the superintendent mentioned around making sure that our students have strong core instruction. One of the things that we are working on as a system is to provide every student with grade level instruction. That is something that over the years, because some of our students perform under grade level and have special needs, we tend to teach them at lower levels. And what the superintendent was referring to with Tier 1 instruction is making sure that every student has access to that work. It also means that in every school we have a system to monitor and see where are kids performing and how are they doing, and then how do we provide the supports that they need, and that's what she referred to as MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support. Again, all of those things require that our teachers get the kind of support that they need. Whether it is, you mentioned co-teaching, which is certainly one model of support, it is really driven by what our students need. So we would want to make sure that there is professional learning around how to support students in accessing that Tier 1 instruction. There's also quite a bit of work when it comes specifically to special education around making sure that the individual education programs, or the IEPs, are written in such a way that we are really being able to provide the tailored supports that are needed. In addition to our own work around inclusive education, the state is also changing the IEP format, and so that is another layer of work that we are going to begin as well in the next few years along with the state's rollout. In addition, I think what's particularly important is there's an inclusion planning team process that we made an agreement on with the Boston Teachers Union. And this year, when we began some of that work, it was incredibly important to make sure that we as a school system partner closely with our families and our school communities. So as schools are making their plans to ensure fully inclusive environment and least restrictive environment for our students, we want to make sure that every school has an inclusion planning team. There are processes and supports in partnership with the BTU around this that includes not just teachers and school leadership, but also paraprofessionals who are key partners in this work, as well as family members. This year, it was great to be able to see that work underway, and we look forward to that happening system-wide. As the superintendent mentioned, the Council of the Great City Schools report and DESE have implored us to really move with deliberate speed to make sure that we are having system-wide inclusion and not just one school at a time, but that the entire system, all of our students, deserve inclusion as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Counselor, the one other thing I would just add is, one of the things that we've heard from our parents of students with disabilities is the concern that as inclusion rolls out, the issue of bullying. And so part of what will also need to be done as the inclusion planning teams take effect is to really build the culture of the school as one of understanding, acceptance, and real appreciation. And so there's a lot of work to be done on the climate of the schools as well. For teachers to recognize, again, what are the signs of bullying, what does that look like, and then how do we mitigate that? So that's the other piece on the social emotional side that is reflective in the inclusion planning teams.
Madam Chair, can I just add a comment or no? Okay.
We'll come right back. A comment, sure.
A comment, the inclusion piece, one, from my background, and I worked in special education for 16 years, but, families coming in, English isn't their first language, the IEP process is not very opaque, it's not very clear, it's difficult and complicated. My concern is that families will not know what to advocate for, and my other concern is, special ed teachers. We have so many teachers who are dual certified, but if you make an inclusion class and those teachers are supposed to do general ed and special ed together, I think that's a bridge too far. So, I think it's really part of the conversation to make sure we're building a system that with adequate accommodations and adequate support, so that we're building for success and not building, not missing anything that will just lead us into another dead end street, so to speak.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm curious, before I dive in, Superintendent Skipper, can you just talk to me a little bit about your leadership in terms of diversity? I'm wondering if there are any Black men or women that are part of this team, because right now I'm not seeing it.
So in our senior advisor team, so this here represents our deputy team. Sam, your Cape Verdean. But in addition to this team, we have the deputy team, and then we have chiefs. And I'm happy to share the org chart with you, as well as our senior advisors, of which we have a very strong, diverse team.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Sure, we can get that to you.
And Sam, I do appreciate it. I'm an Afro-Latina. I understand claiming your Black roots, so I appreciate that. I'm just curious a little bit, if you could just talk to me about your ESSER funding and how's that going?
So we can give a breakdown. It's both, I think, as Chief Kuda indicated, one of the strategies in the overall budget was to ensure that we're using all of our ESSER dollars, but also to have our schools start to think about what are those things that we believe are going to need to be permanent supports and structures that are sitting on ESSER, moving those over to the general budget so that we don't get into deep cut issues next year at the budget time. That exercise, I think, has yielded certainly everybody's focus on spending down the ESSER dollars. It's also giving us a glimpse as to what are those things moving over to ESSER that we can evaluate with the school leaders for the coming year. In terms of the spend down, I'll turn it to Chief Cooter to speak to that.
No, that's okay, because I have a few minutes, so I want to make sure that, but thank you for that, Superintendent. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the progress of how our school budgets will be formed outside of using the weighted student funding formula?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that first if you'd like. I think there are two things. Over the last few years, we've done a lot of work to increase what we call our Foundation for Quality, or the Quality Guarantee, which are increase the number of positions that are funded outside of weighted student funding that we've heard from the community are critical. This has been the rollout of nurses in every school, social workers, family liaisons. We're also launching a project around Reimagine School funding to come up with our new way of funding our schools. This is a project we're doing with the community, and recommendations will be made to the superintendent in the fall for a new way of allocating it. It may include some student-based budgeting that is the foundation for weighted student funding, or may include new ways of thinking about guaranteeing funding and guaranteeing opportunities across schools.
Can you talk to me about how this budget will work to dismantle the high disparities that we see specifically for Black and Latinx students with disabilities who are in substantial separate classrooms?
Through you, Chair. So I think the conversation about the inclusion, that's one of the things that's at the heart of it, is to, that was flagged by both DESE and flagged by the Council of Great City Schools, is that we have way too many students who are programmed and substantially separate. and in particular substantially separate programs, say like emotional impairment, our Black and brown students are overrepresented. So part of dismantling those substantially separate classrooms and moving toward inclusion, which will allow our students much more choice, and parents much more choice about the schools they attend, and give them access to high quality grade level content, is going to, in essence, help relative to the gap work.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how you're going to be speeding up to expand access to native language learners, specifically with disabilities? You know, it seems like you're not, I wouldn't say dragging your feet, but it just seems like a slow start. And until we support English language learners, we're not going to be able to really meet this moment, and they're not going to be able to learn. So can you just talk to me a little bit about what you're doing to pick up this pace there?
Sure. So part of what we adopted out of some of DESE recommendations was a strategic plan for our Office of Multilingual and Multicultural Learners. A piece of that are positions that are specifically looking at the practice and supports for our multilingual learners with disabilities. Additionally, part of what that strategic plan is aiming to do is to increase bilingual education, strengthen the core of sheltered English immersion in the schools that have it, and most importantly, expand access for native language. Dr. Chen, this is your department. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yes, so part of what we're doing with that work is making sure that we review the IEPs of our multilingual learners with disabilities and understand how they've been identified, what the needs are, and making sure that we are improving our evaluations to diagnose appropriately as one piece. But
Do you
also,
have like a dashboard for that? Like how are we?
we are working on that.
So
Yes.
let me just pause, right? Real quick. Like, and Nate, you know this, we were talking about return on investments, and your budget is so much bigger this year. It just keeps getting bigger. And I'm just curious, kind of like how we're going to track, how you're going to measure success, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? What's that look like? Nate,
It is,
you are responsible for the financial health of this organization, right, in many ways. So where is a tool for real accountability? This is my fourth budget.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to measure dollar for dollar?
So a couple of things that we're doing. The first is on the ESSER side. We've piloted some new ways of tying all of the school-based investments to both their strategic plan and measuring for outcomes. So a lot of the outcome-based measures assigned to that.
No, say that simple. Give that to me and like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing is partnering with our research team to understand the areas where schools have chosen to invest. Let's say that they've invested in tutoring as one of their investments. And then working with them to be able to identify and look at the data on those different tutoring programs to see if they're working or not.
And how long does that take?
Well, so if you're investing in any given year in tutoring, I mean, this is one of the challenges about our return on investment for education, is the outcomes for these students are often multi-year outcomes that we want to continue to measure. We're also working to do better input measuring so that if we say that we're running a program for 20 kids, that we measure that the 20 kids attended, we see their attendance, we see the service delivery. That's the sort of most immediate measures that we can do, so that on all of the ESSER spending, we can look at what have we implemented with fidelity, and then of that, what are showing signs that they're working to improve education for
Okay,
kids.
so let's talk a little about fidelity. And for those who are tuning in, fidelity, it means to do something consistently, in case those who need a translation. We have been having issues with restorative justice. And in order for us to get this right, hiring 9 people for a district that has a lot of issues around mediation and conflict resolution is not meeting the moment. So how can we set people up for success if we're not making those investments?
So,
Whoever.
through you, Chair. So I'll grab that. I want to just, if I can, just kind of finish answering the dashboard question. I think in general, there has not been the type of attention to student outcome that you're talking about, Counselor. This is something that's deeply important to me, and it's something that, in terms of the team, we have reframed. We're working in the academic side to make sure that there's dashboards attached to any of the initiatives we're doing, whether it's inclusion, whether it's the expansion of bilingual education and access to native language, and relative to student outcome, it is at the granular level, or will be at the granular level, of how students are achieving and what the gap closing looks like. So I agree with you that I don't think, and I can't speak for the last couple of years, but I don't think that we have had the kind of pointed attention to making sure resources are translating into student gap closing and achievement. That's something that at this time next year in our budget, you will be able to see some of those dashboards during the course of the year and see that play out. In terms of the restorative justice, I think our plan on the youth opportunity and the student support side, I think there's multi-approach to how we're going to support our students post-pandemic. I think one of the things that we're doing, in addition to the restorative practice, is peer mediation. Because we're seeing with the kids that they just don't have the ability to, they have so much trauma, they don't have the ability to regulate in the moment. And sometimes small things become big things for them. So one of the things we're building out under Corey McCarthy and Chief Kelton's leadership, and we're actually working with Jalen Brown's mom and their foundation, is around building out a peer mediation program that will be in all of our schools. And my hope is that we can actually pay our young people, which is something we don't do enough of, but pay our young people to actually be trained and be part of that. Additionally, on the restorative practice side, we're beginning with, for the regional structure, we're aligning all of our supports to that. We're doing one per region right now, and we're now looking across kind of districts our size. We're working with the council to ask, what are some of the districts that you see have large-scale restorative practice that's been in place, that does yield results, that is tracked, since they're a deep partner in the work. So this is an area that I've said both in every budget meeting I've been in, and I think to you personally, that I intend to make the investment year after year in this, because this is the way that we ensure our schools are transformed in their climate and culture. So while it is the 9 practice right now, there's actually a supervisor and then one other. So it's 11 total of FTE. Those there we will leverage. We'll leverage other partners, we'll leverage the community, and then we, most importantly, will adopt a model that going forward will be the thing that we invest in. But we do want community input with that as well.
Superintendent, if I could also add.
Sure.
So those 9 folks will be signed by region, as the superintendent said, but underneath that and in the school base, we have other people that will be supporting them and implementing RJ. So the deans of the schools will be trained in implementing it, the social workers will be trained in implementing it, the safety service specialists will be trained in specialists. So they'll have a team of people, both at school-based level and central, to help support with more of the work as well.
My time is up. I'll wait for my second round. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Mejia. I just wanted to clarify in terms of schedule. So I was in the expectation that the superintendent would be here today, full-time. And I know that you've accommodated me, and I appreciate it. I think there was a miscommunication between my office. And Annie, I apologize that I didn't get the communication. I've been super busy. So whatever message that was sent to me, yes, Annie, I'm addressing you, Annie. Whatever message that was sent to me about timing or schedule, with this schedule, I have not been on my communications. My comms director has been. So I apologize on behalf of my office for not getting that. So the expectation for me, the way I envisioned it, and I would think that it would be up to the chair, and that's what I meant by courtesy to communicate about it, is that you're here today, and I thank you for accommodating us again last minute. And then, so to my council colleagues and those who are watching, if you review this tape, the superintendent will be here today and is not expected to be here in the remaining hearings. And I think that makes sense, that you're here for the full length of it. And then once we have a full conversation, if you have questions, we can submit them, or you can submit them through the chair to the superintendent. But you are absolutely not required to be here in the next.
Yeah, I defer completely to you, Chair, so thank you for the understanding and sorry for the miscommunication. Happy to be here.
Thank you for accommodating me, and obviously I didn't get the memo, but that was on me, I didn't check. So it was buried somewhere a week ago. Here we are. You're accommodating me. I try to be very transparent about things. If I make a mistake, I'm saying I apologize. I didn't get the memo, but I really appreciate you and accommodating. And I think that makes more sense that you're here, and then we can have a full, robust conversation. Sure. This is the first hearing. If counselors are not here, they're super busy. I get it. But then I hope that they don't expect you to be here in every single hearing, because that's ridiculous. But thank you so much. And Counselor Flynn, you're next on my list. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to say thank you to you, Madam Chair, for your important work and leadership, but I also want to acknowledge the superintendent for providing strong leadership during difficult times. And you've been excellent as a leader for the Boston Public School System. I also want to acknowledge that I supported the BPS budget last year, and I was active in testifying against DESE in their potential takeover of the BPS school system. So I want to talk about two things, Superintendent. And on page 12, it just says, the enrollment declined by 22% over 8 years, basically. We also receive state funding to the city of Boston. But is there some point in the next several years that the declining enrollment and possibly cuts from the state government, does it have such a significant financial impact on BPS that BPS has to consider drastic measures to deal with that financial shortfall?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I would defer to my colleagues at City Hall who deal more closely with Chapter 70 funding. One of the things as a dependent school district, we're very fortunate that the city takes on most of the risk as it relates to the Chapter 70 funding. Because of the sort of peculiarities of Chapter 70 funding in Massachusetts and as it relates to Boston, we are not as sensitive to enrollment declines as other districts who depend on a larger portion of their budget to be funded by Chapter 70. I think the percentage of our budget that is funded by Chapter 70, percentage of BPS budget, is significantly lower than 10%. I think it's now close to the 4 or 5% range. That's the result of the increased cost of charter schools and what they call net Chapter 70 aid. So the amount of money the state gives us, you subtract out the amount of money we take for tuition to charter schools, it means that there's almost a very, very small percentage of our budget coming from the state. And so our sensitivity to state funding is, like I said, a better question for OBM.
Thank you, Nate. My second question, in listening to the comments from the superintendent, but also from Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen, thank you for your work and leadership. One of the issues I always focused on, especially in Chinatown, is the support we're giving BPS families. Many of the parents do not speak English. They speak Cantonese. Their child may or may not be in the special education program at Josiah Quincy School. So the communication with the nurse, with the social worker, with the teacher, with the paraprofessional, with the cafeteria staff. How are we certain that each child, especially when their parent doesn't speak English, but each child is getting the services that they need, and the parent is also part of the discussion the parent is engaged, and are we doing everything that we possibly can for the parent so the parent can play a critical role in making sure the child gets the services that they need, but also that they can interact with the BPS team?
So through you, Chair, I would ask Dr. Chen to perhaps speak to our multilingual services relative to Quincy Upper and Quincy Lower. But then also Dr. Tavares, President Flynn, who is our deputy for equity, family, and community advancement. A big piece of what you're asking is the parent engagement part, and how in a specific community where it is language specific, what are the extra supports that we offer there?
So for our multilingual learner families, when they enroll at the Welcome Centers, we do go through an assessment to determine whether or not they're eligible for services. And then our newcomer assessment and counseling center supports students in determining where their English acquisition levels are, or their English language development levels are, and then actually work with the families and we do have folks on our team who speak the main languages, but we also have translation and interpretation services that Dr. Tavares can talk more about. But we want to make sure that families are not only shared with what the processes are for services, but also some options for the types of services that they would like to receive, whether it's a sheltered English immersion classroom that's language specific, or is multilingual, or dual language programs. We want to make sure that our families are fully aware of what the options are for learning for their child.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn.
You have to touch it.
Thank you, Dr. Councilor Flynn, for asking the question regarding the access to language. Can you hear me?
Don't touch it. It'll kick in.
So if you press it and then wait till the blinking
There it
stops.
goes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for that question, Councilor Flynn, regarding specifically the language access to families, because that's definitely an area that we're very focused on, both at the staffing level, really thinking about linguistic diversity across our organization, at every single part of the organization that touches and supports and communicates with families. We're really aware and very sensitive to finding folks within the community that actually speak the language of the students and the families that we're serving. And that's something that's happening at every level. And specifically to translation and interpretation, we're also not only thinking about the regional model and how we consider what languages are specific to the different areas of Boston. And you mentioned Cantonese, which is really critical within Chinatown. That in particular is something that we're really developing opportunities to, with my work that I do with supporting Dr. Chen's work, and thinking about how our family liaisons really support that language capacity for families. And at the school level, to be very, go to the face-to-face, day-to-day work that has to happen, not only with thinking about how the staffing at each and every school has to reflect the linguistic supports that are needed for those communities, and thinking about how at central office, we also need to support linguistically the communities and the staffing and the schools that have to also interface with families. So thinking about language and language supports at all of those levels is really critical to the work that we do in order to really do a wraparound of support for families when it comes to their language needs.
Yeah. And I would also just add that in the area of mental health services and health services, I think that's been a place where we are being much more intentional, because we realize for parents, those tend to be high stress situations. So the worst thing is for them not to be able to reach somebody at the school that they can communicate with. So I know at the Quincy Upper, for instance, there was an issue of nurses, and we resolved that because we saw the need for them to make sure that we had a nurse that spoke Cantonese. So,
Thank you, Superintendent. Madam Chair, could I make one final statement? Thank you, Madam Chair. One issue I would like us to continue to focus on, and I know you are committed to doing that, Superintendent, but working with the City of Boston Food Access Program and working closely with BHA Development Many of my schools are located in public housing developments, but just want to see if, during this budget process, if we're able to expand services for BPS families that are living in BHA developments, but also making sure we expand the food access program to students throughout BPS. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me an extra minute.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. Council Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I think we should be good now. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for your work, for being here, for your presentation. There's so much that has been condensed down into this presentation, so I understand the full breadth of your work and just want to express gratitude. We've been in constant communication on facilities in my district. I know that we're in close communication about the O'Donnell School Playground. Looking at you, Sam, so thank you all so much for figuring out how we utilize that money that's come from this council as well as the state. My state partners have secured money for that. Just going to uplift the fact again that school services 88% Hispanic and Latinx families, many of whom come from the Eagle Hill neighborhood and who don't have backyards, so access to a playground is key. So just want to put that out there, and I do look forward to getting the timeline on when that will be built. So I think I'm going to focus my line of questioning on this difficult balancing act of declining enrollment, right, and trying to match up facilities planning and budget planning. It is a difficult balancing act. I think I was surprised to see that the increase in enrollment is due to new arrivals and migrant families, and I thought about it more and just with the amount of folks that we've seen come into East Boston. I've been working with a family of 5 boys who were all dispersed to different schools because there's a wait list at BINCA, and we know how incredible BINCA is, and I know that a lot of my colleagues have talked about the multilingual education line item. I see that there's a 6.3 increase. I'm wondering if you could dive into what accounts for that increase, like bullet points, like what are we spending that money on, and top 3 expenses as part of that, and how we are servicing our new arrivals and migrant families through that line item, or any other line item for that matter.
Sure. So I'll begin. So that is accurate that wonderfully we are seeing our immigrant students coming as newcomers, and to accommodate, we're currently, to your point about BINCA, we have opened a newcomer center now over in Brighton because we're really kind of looking at the data. East Boston, we're actively looking for a location to be able to do that. Because that will also take some tension point off of East Boston High now that it is 7th and 8th graders, and then also Charlestown High. So we're really trying to look around the city to see where we can most accommodate our families. So certainly that line, the large budget increase, vast majority of that is going to support the OMME, or what we call the Office of Multilingual and Multicultural Learners. It's going to support the expansion of bilingual education, of increase in native language, but also just with so many newcomers coming in, making sure that we have enough SEI programming and ESL support, because it'll be back-to-back years that we'll be seeing that kind of increase. So a great deal of it is going in support of the programming, strengthening the programs. Additionally, there are 15 SLIFE social workers, bilingual social workers that we've added in, and this has been something that's been long in coming and being needed. When we get our newcomers, there are newcomers who have gone through traditional education in their country, and then there are newcomers who make a journey, and because of it, they're either missing multiple years or grade levels, or it could be because of situations back in the country from which they're coming, they're missing that schooling. And so we call them interrupted learners. And when they come, not only are they missing many grades worth of education, but they're also traumatized in many cases. And so partnering a strong academic program to be able to service a student who might by age be 14, but by actual grade competency might be, 5th grade. The academic piece has been the piece that most districts focus on. The part that often gets left to the social worker that's in the school is the social emotional support. And the difficulty there is that they often don't speak the language. So, we've added in and we're in the process of hiring 15, particularly for the SLIFE classrooms. And I do think that will both aid our students and families because they are social workers, but also it will take away for the social worker that's in the school and allow them to focus on other population. Dr. Chen, I don't know if there's anything else you want to call out, materials perhaps that's in that line?
Sure. In addition to what the superintendent shared, you mentioned that there's a wait list at BINCA, and what we are doing is also expanding newcomer centers in 3 other locations next year, Brighton, East Boston, and Charlestown, because we really want to make sure we meet the needs of our newcomer students. We also have additional investments in expanding bilingual education, which includes heritage language teachers as well as bilingual paraprofessionals, in addition to the SLIFE social workers that the superintendent mentioned. And as well, we are expanding some positions in our multilingual learners with disabilities because we need to have dedicated supports there.
Great.
Sorry, I'll only add, we do spend about $7 million translating materials. All materials are translated and providing translators at meetings as well, so that'll continue also.
That's great. I love hearing that it's largely going to those social workers. They could be specialized for this group, and also that you're expanding these, what did you call them, a welcoming center?
Yes, welcoming center.
In Charlestown, East Boston. My second follow-up question, which you kind of answered, was how is facilities planning reflected in these needs for our newcomers? I heard you say potentially a new school in East Boston.
That's right. We're looking for a site in East Boston that could, ideally about 12 classrooms.
Amazing.
There's much like BINCA, there's an advantage to being able in the first couple of years to focus on specifically for our newcomers on what they need, and then they would have access to East Boston High after that. So.
Okay, I will go on record in support of that. I think that that's an incredible idea. BINCA is so far away from East Boston and Charlestown in my district. If we could have a new facility solely dedicated to these students, that's something that I would very much support. So thank you for looking into that, and I look forward to efforts on that front. My second question is going to be around recruiting and retaining incredible teachers. I know that this time last year there were significant openings, so I'm trying to figure out how we're doing on that front. I know that there's a line item for increasing salaries, and then also we're increasing Rashawn Martin's shop. Shout out to him. He's an East Boston resident. He's doing incredible work in that division. So I'm wondering how we're doing just recruiting and retaining teachers, and then what is this $700,000 going to in particular?
So through you, Chair. So I would answer that in multiple ways. So I think compared to last year, we are definitely seeing much larger pools of educators, diverse educators, and linguistically diverse educators. A lot of this has to do with pipelines that we've been working on, both with the colleges for those that are coming out, but also going out into the community around hiring. So it isn't just educators, it's like all staff. Good example of that is a bus monitor fair that we were able to do with a school committee member yielded us over 100 bus monitors in our hiring. St. Stephen's is another area that we've partnered around food service and paraprofessional hiring. So we're really trying to also take the job piece out to the community as well, and making connections with partners who can help us with the recruitment. We have a dashboard that we work on, and so it changes on a daily basis for the hiring. Right now, because so many positions are posted, it's hard. Some of those positions may have an internal candidate who is being hired, but it wouldn't necessarily be reflected. It's still showing as an opening, so it's not the easiest thing to read right now. But right now, in talking with Human Capital, we are ahead of where we were last year, which is hopeful. I also think that next year, with ESSER everywhere, nationally and across the Commonwealth, with the ESSER dollars going away and many positions being eliminated throughout the Commonwealth, that we will see more and more applicants to Boston because we are a great place to teach and to work. And we're developing that reputation through the partnerships. I think for us, when I think of staffing, solidifying the principal core is the number one thing we can do. And this year, we will see less instability in the principal core, so more people leave. We won't see people leaving than we probably have in about a decade.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Councilor Morell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to BPS for being here and always being so responsive. My first question is, most of our students live in the southern neighborhoods of the city, where public and private or charter schools exist. Does BPS have any data on where students live and what school they attend? And can that information be provided to me through the chair?
Yes, Counselor, thank you for that question. As the local education agency, we do track all of the students, all school-age children in Boston, and know their enrollment. And so we can provide you with a report on all enrollment by neighborhood and the neighborhood in which the students are attending.
Thank you. And then last year, I presented a hearing order around City of Boston establishing a cradle-to-career data tracking system. Other cities, including Chicago, who have had success backed by data, have established consortiums, bringing together, school leadership, educators, researchers, and policymakers. And these groups conduct research to inform and assess policy and practice in public schools, and also just evaluates and audits, the initiative that we're doing as a BPS system to make sure that our, BPS students are on track for family earning wages, or if they have the right skills and the ability to graduate college. Are there any efforts underway in Boston to help make that coordination, to use our researchers, whether it's Bari, Harvard? We have a whole lot of institutions here that I think that we could be using a lot more to evaluate and audit and evaluate our initiatives. So I'd love to hear what's going on around that.
Through you, Chair. When I first heard you speak about this, Counselor, I was very excited because this is actually the type of comprehensive look that we need to do. I would say that we have a tremendous amount of data on 7 to 12 in terms of what happens for students, where they go. Success Boston is our 9 through 12, now 7 to 12 initiative of sort of forward look for career in college. We have that. This is actually like a great project for the Children's Cabinet, which is something that's being created where you take city agencies, school district, put them together. It's through Harvard by all means. This would be the type of project that we could get outside partnerships to help support, particularly to marry what we know happens in the earliest, the birth of a child. Now that we have such a strong early childhood mixed delivery system, really then put together that middle part and then marry it to the high school part. So it's an area that we're interested in doing. We don't have it right now, but it is something that I think through the Children's Cabinet we could look at.
Thank you. And I think the biggest part is getting the data from BPS to the city of Boston, and that just boggles my mind because BPS and the city of Boston are one and the same. But we will love your work on that as well. Crafts and trades are really important to me, and making sure that everyone has the opportunity to engage in voc tech or technical training or early career and college pathways. And I believe that's Chapter 74. We'd love to hear what efforts are being made to make sure that every student in BPS has that opportunity to early career college and voc tech and technical. And then also, I just read about a new partnership called Chapter 74 After Dark. If we don't have anything up and running right now, which VOTEC is in every school, are we putting in applications to partner with other districts to give our students that opportunity?
Through you, Chair. So as we talked about after our Henderson visit, this is an area of extreme excitement within BPS for us. Madison Park, the new design, the potential for the new or renovated building, long in coming, that's going to really enable us to have just a showcase for our Chapter 74 centralized as a school, which we call CTE. Knowing that not all students will go to Madison, or that some students want to learn some career trade, and then they also, also want the college component. We're looking in our early college and career to expand that to all high schools. That's a commitment, I'm making, and the mayor has made, to make sure that in every high school we're offering, a full menu of opportunities for our young people. What we see.
Just quickly, Superintendent, what's the timeline? Do you think we'll be able to have that in every high school?
We expanded this year, this coming year, we're expanding both early college sites to 6 high schools, 6. And for CTE, with Edvestors and Boston Skills, we will be at 7 schools that will have career trajectory. What I think we need to do, though, is to look at the high school picture so that in every area of the city, regardless of where a student lives, they don't have to travel across the city to get to the one that they want.
Right.
So this really is not just about having 1 or 2 career paths within a high school, but expanding that to 3 or 4 and making sure that the region's covered. To your point, the Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury area especially, having Madison, but then also looking at all of the high schools in the Dorchester area. So this is the map that we're beginning to work on and what that could look like. And that will yield certifications. So if they go to the culinary program, they will get fresh food certified. This is what our young people are telling us they want. They want the opportunity to go out and not just do entry-level skill, but they want middle skill so that they're able to afford to live in the city.
Thank you. And the other, when I'm driving home from work, sometimes I see the Boston Public Schools shut down, like the lights are closed, no one's in the building, and I feel like that's a waste of space. There's so many nonprofits that are looking for places to engage our students. What are we doing to, collaborate with our nonprofits to bring them inside the school, to give them space to engage our students?
Yeah. So I know Dr. DePina can chime in on this, but I will just say, as you and I connected on this, you're absolutely right. The building is the resource in the community. We need to open it. We need to get our young people in it. Our Youth Opportunities is working right now to do that. So they're plugging in with different community orgs and nonprofits, and then we're working out whether it's the gym or the cafeteria or the classrooms to be able to give them that space. Same with faith-based. Often they want to be able to use the schools as well. And I know Dr. Bina has a couple of concrete examples.
Yeah, so over the years, this year specifically, we've been very intentional on making sure we're keenly aware of what our partners would like to do in our schools and where, and making sure we match the partners' needs with what the school-based needs are, and make those connections and bridge them to our partnership office as well. And where the space that's needed, we just work that out with the partners and put in the appropriate permits, and we go from there.
And is there an application for nonprofits to apply to gain this space? And
it's through our Asset Essentials permitting system, so it's the same way we do it now. So if I can happily forward the directions on to you, so you have it as a reference point as well, if that's helpful.
Right, and also, Counselor, we're moving toward a hub model, which is under Dr. Chen's office. So as every school becomes a community school or a hub school, it starts by meeting with the community and determining what the community wants and needs, and then really making that building about that. So the after-school programming, the evening programming that you're talking about and having access for students, that will come up through the hub model. We have 13 hub schools for next year, and then every year we'll be adopting a new cohort of them.
And is there any way to make that after-school component
Counselor,
mandatory? Sorry, Chair.
Your time is up.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
All right. Is there any opportunity to make that after-school programming mandatory for our students, or is it just an optional?
Through you, Chair. So some of our schools had what was called extending learning time, which became part of the school day. With the way staffing has been, it's been very hard statewide to actually staff the programs. There's also lots of consideration for parents with childcare and work and things. That will most come up through, I think, through the hub schools as to what's offered, and then making sure families have choice in it, but most importantly, a seat, right? So if a child and a family wants it, they can have it. But I think trying to do it through the schools, at least with the extended learning, a lot of those dollars have dried up through the state, and more frankly, some of our schools have just really had a hard time staffing it in the after hours.
Thank you.
Councilor Lujan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to say thank you to all of you at BPS who do the work of ensuring that our kids who are brilliant and dynamic, that we are giving them the resources and the people and the love for them to meet their potential. And I get really sad when I think about how we're failing our kids and not letting every one of them know how limitless the sky is. And so I take that as the charge of the work that we need to do to really break cycles of poverty, to make education really be the great equalizer that it can be, that it was for me, that it can be for so many other people. I want to start to piggyback off of what I believe what Councilor Rowell was saying. When we look at our schools, especially that have struggled with a lot of issues of behavior issues or instances of violence, Superintendent, you weren't able to come with me to Young Achievers, but Young Achievers as being an example of a school that has been stripped of all of its community partnerships, right? There are no nonprofit partners. We have the Mattapan Teen Center not far away, so I think it's critically important that we continue to expand the hub school model, but that we bring our nonprofits into our schools that have different relationships with our students and that can build more adults that our students can trust. I think that's incredibly important. It's also why I champion more guidance counselors, decreasing that ratio. We have Ms. Incasio at Boston Lawn School, who was named the guidance Counselor of the Year for the Commonwealth this year. Last year, I was at the DESE hearing when the guidance counselor not from Boston last year spoke, and they both say that if you want more guidance counselors of the year, you got to hire more guidance counselors. They really sit at the nexus of two things that are important: the social and emotional support that our kids need, and preparing our kids for life after BPS. And so I think that and they can do the triage necessary before the student goes off to see a social worker. And so I just think it's important that we continue to scale that up. I don't have a question per se on that, but just wanted to add that to the record. I do have a question about the vouchers that we provide, that we're able to provide to families. And I see in the budget that there's an ARP homeless child and youth line item for $1.5 million. What exactly is that line item for?
Do you mind just telling me the line that you're referencing?
It's in the operating budget. It's the program name, and it says ARP Homeless Child and Youth. And there's a $1.5 million allocation.
So each of the schools are given an allocation on the weighted student funding for the number of students experiencing homelessness in their building. As part of the process, they also need to allocate those and come up with a plan for supporting students experiencing homelessness. So that's part of the program code budget for homelessness. David just pointed out that on the slide that you're referencing, the ARP homelessness is part of the packet that we provided. I'm gonna stop talking and see if David could describe where that came from.
Yeah. I'm gonna give a partially disappointing answer, but then I will get back to you very shortly. So that is the ARP funding that was referenced in the briefing packet of just more of $1.5 million is American Rescue Plan Act federal funding, not a part of our general fund. I will quickly look up the information and get to you before the end of the hearing.
Okay, the reason why I asked is last year we increased allocation for the city's voucher program by $2.5 million via ARPA, which we were all really excited to do, and a clarification of whether that is a source of funding for our students experiencing homelessness. My understanding is yes, that a lot of our students who are experiencing homelessness, a source of something that we're able to do is via that pool of funding, provide vouchers for our students. Is that correct?
Yes, part of our program, Homeless Education Resource Network, partners with the city on that initiative, and we do provide those vouchers through that.
Great. And how are we making sure that our BPS families and students know about the program? Because I'm hearing different things from community about just lack of communication, or like the engine isn't working as smoothly as it could in communicating that we have this resource. We actually want to use it. primarily and most ardently for our students. So how are we doing at communicating that?
Yeah, one of the things we've been assessing over the years and how that program's going as we debrief and prepare for the end of the year and the upcoming school year is what training we'll need to do and education we'll need to do with the homeless liaisons that are in the schools.
Every school has a homeless liaison?
Yes, every school.
That's not seated in the school, right?
It's seated at the school, so they're at the school.
Separate from a family liaison?
That's right.
I didn't know that every school has a homeless liaison internally, like on staff for the school.
Yes. And then that could be like a social worker. They identify people, but.
Oh, okay, but it's
So-
not like a standalone, okay.
Right.
Yes.
The stipend.
Yes.
It's like stipend.
So every school has one, and then what we're trying to do now is make sure that we do extensive training and education to those folks as well as student support teams, and then that way they can, with the family liaison, so they're all aware and educated of the process. What tends to happen as well is that we also have partners that engage in this work with us that we're really thankful for. That we're also trying to make sure we streamline all the processes and procedures to make sure everyone's clear on what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, like for instance, Higher Ground is one of our key partners on homeless assistance, but also I think a big piece of this is the communication and to your point of getting the information to the right people, is we've been able to develop a stronger, what I would call student support network at each school. And that could come through the nurse, the family liaison, the homeless liaison, the guidance counselor, the social worker. That's like the student support team. So Chief Kelton has worked hard to make sure that every school's student support team is functioning well, and that the people that need to be on it are on it, so that as this kind of critical information or as families identified,
Yes.
it triggers
Yeah,
it.
so I'm identifying it as an issue that's been brought to the attention of my office. Obviously, our students can't learn if they are in unstable housing. Wondering how is are we meeting the need? Do we have more need than we have vouchers? How can we increase funding if necessary? So through the chair, I'd like to get a financial accounting of what we're doing, where we stand in terms of our ability to provide vouchers and vis-a-vis the need, but would like just some more information about how we're meeting the need and what the numbers are. If you have it now, that'd be great. If that's something you can get to me, and if we need to be able to if we need to advocate for more vouchers here on the city council, I'd like to be able to do that.
Thank you.
And then I'm very glad, obviously, to hear about the life classrooms, the students with limited or interrupted formal education, and that they're all getting social workers. That's incredibly important. Incredibly important, too, that we're getting more welcome centers. I want to advocate for more of that. We have students traveling from Alston Brighton to a life classroom in Mattapan, right? And they've already gone through all these long journeys. We need life classrooms in all of our neighborhoods. And one also, shout out to the Teachers Lounge, which has been doing incredible work in building out the pipeline and supporting and retaining the teachers of color here in the city of Boston. And then I guess a last question that I would have, Madam Chair, how am I doing on my time?
You have 5 seconds.
Okay, early education, investments in early education, incredibly important. The goalpost continues to move. It's UPK, but now I believe it's, we got to be doing it at 9 months. So how our investments look like? What are our UPK numbers? I believe, Superintendent, I asked you this. Can every family who wants a UPK seat right now get one? If not, what can we do to get there?
Through your chair. So for what we're seeing is at the 4-year-old, yes. At the 3-year-old, no. We're seeing a deep need at the 3-year-old level for special education service and for family care. So this is an area that we're working hard with Krista McSwain in her office on. We've been having a lot of internal meetings. We need to identify additional facility and classroom space.
For 3-year-olds?
For 3-year-olds, yeah.
And what about 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, whatever?
So in the play groups, which is where that is, this is one of the struggles. Many schools would love to have play groups. They just don't have the physical space to offer them. So this is part of, in our reconfiguration, as we sort of work on the enrollment side and we work on Green New Deal, is being able to ensure that schools do have the space to be able to take in the youngest of learners. orient the family, right? So that the family comes in, they get to know the school, the staff, the layout, then they're much more likely to want to get services in that school. They also then can find out about what's possible for special education if they need that, or if they're looking for bilingual education. So it all ties together. But right now there isn't the space that we would like to see. So a heavy part of the 1 and 2 year olds is in the mixed daycare.
Thank you. I have some questions for you, and then we'll do a round 2 if folks are still here. So the comprehensive behavior health model initiative budget has decreased. So $382,482 for FY21, and then to $339,124 in FY24. How will this impact the availability for mental health support, social, emotional, and behavioral needs for students in BPS?
I'm sorry, Counselor, I missed the opening to that question. And if you're
the comprehensive behavior health model initiative budget decreased, and so I just wanted to understand how it will impact the services from FY21 to FY24 now being $339,000.
We continue to invest in the mental health supports. I believe the changes that you're seeing are on the operating budget. Every year we sort of review our operating budget and our external funds. And the shift, this is most likely a shift from resources from general to external, likely on one of our entitlement grants. Is there a specific slide that you're referencing so you can just confirm that I'm looking at the same data?
Well, I extracted this from the data that you provided, that there was a decrease, specifically in the behavioral health model initiative. I mean, in order for me to go through the books right now, it's going to take too much time.
No, it's okay. I can follow up and give you a more detailed answer as a follow-up to the hearing.
Okay, thank you. So the most up-to-date summary for the 21st Century Community Learn End of Year reports is 2018 to 2019. Is there a reason why we don't have a report from 20 to 22? This is the summary for the 21st Century Community Learn End of Year reports.
I'm not as familiar with that. I'll have to follow up with you afterward.
Okay.
Follow up with the council afterwards on that.
All right. The budget for alternative English learning education has decreased $0 in FY23 and FY24. Can you please give me some context?
Can you repeat the category that you're talking about?
So how does the department plan to spend and utilize funds that were diverted from this section? So the FY23 for alternative English learning education?
So that would fall under BADA. BADA would be one of the schools. But then we do have some other programming in East Boston, in Charlestown High. If you can show me the line, I can.
I'm having trouble locating the line that you're referring to. We have alternative education program code budgets, and then we have the English learner program budgets. So I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Okay, so I can provide these questions to you in writing if it helps, if hearing it in this way doesn't help you, or maybe finding the line item for you so that you can actually reference it.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
Can you explain the allocations for funds for careers and technical education? So how has FY23 budget 21 and so million been spent so far?
There's multiple ways in which the career and technical education funding is allocated. The first is to school-based programs. The largest, of course, is Madison Park. and the career and technical programs there. We also have other high schools that have formal career and technical Chapter 74 programs, including EMK, Kennedy Health Careers,
Dearborn, East Boston.
Academy.
Yep.
And so there's school-based funding for positions for career and technical that's allocated out. There's also, under our office of our high school office, there's a career and technical team that supports those programs, both in terms of the regulatory requirements and reporting requirements, but also in terms of program implementation and fidelity.
So those dollars could be for training in particular locations. It could be for material for that location, certification program, staffing, field trips. It runs the gamut.
Okay. So there was I guess, a decline for budget for Madison Park in Roxbury. And I guess I just wanted to understand the impact of that. Specifically, the vocational programs offer there, and how are the goals for the schools with declining budgets being maintained?
Good. Oh, midday, sorry, got stuck between morning and afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. Almost, yeah, we're
Yeah,
almost there.
good time of day. So Madison Park's budget, I have is increasing for next year in what was approved by the school committee in March. But regardless, with each school, we're working to ensure that the only things that we're reducing out of their budget as we transition from 23 to 24 is unneeded capacity. So if a school used to have 3 fifth grade classrooms, but the number of students they have means they only need 2 next year, we're reducing that 3rd classroom and letting them reinvest the money. Schools are then also allowed, in consultation with their school communities, to make individual changes to their budgets. To sort of cut one thing and increase another thing. But overall, that's how we're working it.
Okay. Can you explain the 24, I think it's $24,305,449 increase in personnel services from 23 to 24? And specifically, I guess my questions are going to go more toward equitable hiring and your measures to ensure that you're increasing in equity, if there are any programs at all to support people with professional development, specifically people of color. We talked about this last year, and there was a need for it, and what came out of the conversation with the unions and people that I talked to, teachers and so forth, paras, is that I guess the paraprofessionals of color did not necessarily have the funding for the training to move up. Yeah. And there was a need for programs to support them and or reimbursement, and we talked about a possibility. Where are we with that?
Underneath our retention, cultivation, and diversity department, this is actually a big focus of ours. So there's been, so first of all, there's partnerships with certain colleges that provide discounts for paraprofessionals or teachers who are looking to go on for a degree if they don't already have one, or a master's if they already have a bachelor's. There's also, a big barrier for our paraprofessionals has been the MTEL and taking the MTEL. So we've increased and actually not put any limit on the amount of tutoring and coaching support that we'll provide for any paraprofessional or educator that's looking to get certified. That MTEL's been the barrier. So Rajan Martin and his department have been hiring actively for that for the summer, because that's a big time. Before, we were limited to a certain number of coaches, and going in and seeing the wait list, which was around 300, I completely took that off and said, hire whatever you need to make sure that people get the support that they need. Additionally, on the pipeline, there are, Northeastern's a good example, one of the universities that right now, through a scholar program, the McFarland Scholars, offers 20 of our educators a scholarship if they're looking to be able to get a degree in order to move up and advance. So we're trying to build as many programs as we can and partnerships, knowing that for our staff, particularly for our staff of color, in positions like paraprofessional or first, second year teachers, getting their certification is the barrier. Right now, DESE has allowed the emergency licensure to continue. However, for some of our educators, that doesn't necessarily help them if they don't have the degree, to your point. And I'm happy to provide more information with the actual figures of what we're doing with it.
Okay.
Would you also, I didn't mean to interrupt, but would you like me to give you the big categories of personnel growth?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Overall. So in terms of FTE growth, number of new positions that we're adding, the big categories of growth have to do with librarians and expanding our multi-year commitment to have a librarian in every school. Social worker expansion, as we talked about, including SLIFE program. There are a lot of additional ESL FTE that have been added for next year to be able to service our students in our multilingual programs. And then overall, the salary growth it can be attributed to the finalizing of our collective bargaining agreements, which were multiple years sort of unsettled, and so that's a catching up on salary costs as well.
Yeah.
Those are probably the biggest. And then the last would be as we continue to expand inclusion programs and roll inclusion programs up, they have traditionally been more staffing intensive.
Yeah, I'm not of the opinion that BPS has too much money. I don't have that opinion. I think that's stupid. I think we need more money, but I am of the opinion that we need to invest extremely in our capital to be able to build infrastructure and facilities to complement our curriculums. I think that the problem is that facilities overall and the amenities that we offer at these schools are just lacking, right? And when we compare, in comparison to other cities or other districts, I spoke with you about this, Nate, last year. I've seen the difference because I was a young mom and my sons attend Weston public schools, and so of course I see the comparison, and it's just stark and sad. So I think that we need to invest way more money in our schools, state, both city, in order for us to do that. These kids get experiential learning on a different level. And I want that for us. I want that for BPS. So through this process, I hope that the conversation is going to be about just really understanding how, in terms of measures or metrics that you are implementing in order to build and create progress towards academic success for all children in BPS. But I will stop at just my last question for this round. I heard you say something about a peer mediation program, and I really love that concept. I filed a hearing order to discuss ways to create partnerships between high schools and colleges and how we can pay our high school students to do homework. And so I think beyond this peer mediation, if it's peer mediation, like a work program where they are doing their homework and they can get paid for that, not just peer mediation, I think it's necessary considering the data on Black boys, and particularly in terms of dropout rates, in terms of Latino children as well, right, in our BPS schools. So I would love to talk about how YEE, and that can go into a second round, or BCYF is partnering with BPS. And I agree with Councilor Worrell, we should be using our facilities, our current facilities, to be able to go beyond school time to do that. If it's a work program, it's an after-school program. I think I did some research a couple years ago on high school students with homework help, and there is none. There's an absolute desert. You go to the Kroc Center, Boys and Girls Club, and with the exceptions to like the tutoring programs that you have to pay for, high schoolers don't actually have homework help. actually get that service. And then there was that pilot thing that BPS did where they were paying teachers to tutor at libraries, but of course you're only getting kids that are already, right, connected and integrated. So I would love to talk about how we are spending our YEE dollars in paying our students and how BPS can support that program on your end in paying, or are we asking colleges to partner to do the work program on their end, pay their students to tutor, we pay our students from the city side as a job from YE to be employed, and all you have to do is I'm going to work, and that's downstairs, right? But I'm doing my homework. What do you think about that?
I think this is such untapped right now. I just actually had a conversation about our 18 to 24-year-old and the dropout issue. And, we've recovered about 100 students right now in adult ed. And so just talked with Trin about being able to use the dollars to pay those students for every course they complete as an incentive for them to go on and be able to get their diploma. And so that's something that we're actively now working on. I agree. I think, I can give you a bunch of different models, but Calculus Project's a great example where we know the power of an older student with a skill making money and actually tutoring and supporting and mentoring a younger student. You can have an adult in that position, it's not going to have the same impact. So these are the kinds of the peer mediation with Jalen Brown's foundation is the first step, for us in the peer mediation area. But it's a way for us to train over the summer, and I think it's around 80 students that will be trained over the summer to be peer mediators, and then they'll go back into their schools and they will help to peer mediate, particularly the younger grades in those schools. So, we could do that with the academic pieces. We could certainly do that with the athletic pieces as well. For students that are in college, there's no reason that they're not coming back, or not even in college, in career, coming back and being able to be sort of junior coaches in a way, but with a livable wage. We need to get a livable wage for these guys. So I would love to work in any capacity that I can with you across this, because to me that's helping to transform. BPS is a place for BPS graduates. It's also a place for BPS students to be empowered.
Yeah, I would love to be included in that in any way. I know that I've said that often and we're all busy, but in particularly the social and emotional, I think, Councilman Mejia, you filed to include social emotional in the curriculum, or teachings in the curriculum. I think, civics and obviously financial literacy is the other component. But anyway, I will stop talking because then Councilman Mejia is going to ask me, have I passed my 8 minutes? And I will go to Councilor Braden to the next round. Dr. Tavares, did you have questions for me?
I actually wanted to do a shameless plug for the Summer Jobs and Internships website that families can actually access. To your question around just accessibility, whether it's peer-to-peer support or even opportunities for youth, especially in the summer, I wanted to make sure that, we all collectively make sure that we send this out to communities as much as possible. There are internships and there are job opportunities for our youth, and they can easily access some of them through the summer. Just even plugging in BPS summer and summer internships, they can get some information on that and also reach out to us.
That's excellent. A lot of parents feel that, I know the PIC program works on
Yes,
this
exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's work that we can do outside of this hearing. But just to add to that, it would be nice to have students get paid just as teachers were getting paid where they were sitting in libraries. I used to take my children, even though they're not in PBS. But it would be nice to pay students to get paid for their homework, even if they're not part of this peer mediation program.
That's right.
But just get paid to do homework, because it is a task, it is a job, and we're talking about equity, right? So, anyway, I know that YE has been exceptionally open. What is that program? Up something program. No. There's a program that I connected and was successful in accessing contracts with YE to do that. So I know that the city is open to do that as well. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You folks have touched on some of the questions. I'm really delighted to hear that we are working on that pathway for our paraprofessionals. I think we raised this issue last year. That's a ready supply of diverse, motivated folks who know the community, who will make incredible teachers. So I'm glad that's happening. The one question I had was really about partnerships in terms of, I think last year when I asked the question, there was one person in central staff who was sort of dedicated to partnerships. I know some of our pilot schools have someone on staff who works in partnerships, but are we able to beef up that capacity? Because we're leaving a lot on the table in Boston.
So yes, I'll take a stab at it, and then of course give it to Superintendent Skipper. I can say that there are actually 3 now that are actually dedicated to partnerships, along with, of course, working within the division where we support across. But specifically thinking about faith-based, there's someone very specifically dedicated for faith-based nonprofits and partnerships. And then, of course, we have more school-based. And then we have Carissa Goff, who's the director of partnerships, and she leads those 2 staff members who really think about different ways of connecting across nonprofits to support schools. So trying to build a team out that really is aligning with also the priorities, with Dr. Chen and Dr. DePina, thinking about our priorities across our district, so that partnerships aren't just a long list of, a laundry list of folks that are interested in working BPS, but that they're actual nonprofits that are working aligned with our priorities as well.
In relationship, an ongoing long-term commitment. Yeah. Exactly. The other question I had was really about, we have a lot of newcomers coming in, and I know that the one question, the critical question, I think, is just thinking about screening these new arrivals for hearing and vision. You can sit in a classroom, and if you're hearing impaired or vision impaired, you're missing a whole lot, and I'm concerned that these young people are ready. All the challenges they bring in, but are we screening them on the early in the first few weeks of being in school that their vision and hearing is adequate so that they can actually get a chance of participating in the classroom?
I can take a first stab at it because this is the kind of work that's absolutely in collaboration. At the nursing level, at every single school, absolutely those screenings are happening, especially with newly arrived students. And taking into consideration where they're arriving from is really critical as well, to your point. And then our established partnerships with, for example, in Austin Brighton with St. Elizabeth's, and really working in partnership with those healthcare folks that are within the community that are supporting schools, even having, for example, dentistry mobile situations that come to the school and do a lot of the screening for students in that way. But those are some of the ways in which we really rely on our partnerships with different clinics and different hospitals within the different communities that our schools are in. And then thinking about that hub school model that also connects with health, and those screenings and the overall health of the student and the families in that particular way, in the way that you're asking. So definitely the partnerships around that is really critical. And then I'll pass it over to Dr. DePina or Dr. Chen if they wanted to add anything else around that.
I would add that we're beefing up the nursing model with the regions. And so there'll be 1 per 3 region as sort of a lead nurse to be able to support. That helps with the health education for the nurses, but also to help triage if there's any issues that we're seeing of the handoff between the enrollment center and students' enrollment in the schools and getting access to those critical screenings. So it's that is one of the most important things we do when a student first comes into us, is to make sure that the health needs are taken care of.
The other thing I wanted to raise, just in terms of thinking early education and inclusion, you mentioned bullying. I think one antidote to bullying in the later grades is if students begin learning together in preschool, especially if the kids have special needs or disabilities. So do we have inclusionary models for the early education stage of the student's life?
Through Chair. So that's actually something that we're working with Krista McSwain on with our special education department, and that that it will right now, we're trying to get seating for the K-0s relative to the buildings. But in the school, there are many preschools of which the 4-year-olds attend that are attached to the school. So as they're developing, to Dr. Chen's point, the inclusion planning teams, that will be also including those preschool classrooms as part of that. Dr. Chen, I don't know if there's anything else on early ed. Okay.
Yeah, trying to beat the bell here. You know, many of our high school students are working 20, 30 hours a week to help support their families, and often late into the evening. I know that the offering of more flexible options so that they can develop a portfolio of work that would get credit. I know so much is focused on just the MCAS and exams, but you know, a portfolio of work that can demonstrate that you can get high school credits or a college credit for. And also remote learning options. If you're working to 10 or 11 o'clock at night, you may not be too perky first thing in the morning. So I don't know, are we looking at flexible models to try and make it possible for so students who have to do this is an economic necessity. How are we supporting those students?
Sure. So this is an area with alternative education, what we call educational options. That we need to have a menu, like a true menu that meets the students where they are. In some cases, that may be that a student is lacking credit because of past, absence or struggling in school. It could also be that a student's life circumstances have changed, and to your point, they have to work or childcare. So one of the advantages of Ed Options is that you create a menu of schools that have different hours, different ways they can be hybrid. We do have a remote that's attached to our Boston Collaborative. And then within our larger schools, making sure that there's programs that are what we call Tier 3 that they can access, even though they're still part of, say, a Brighton High or they're part of a Charlestown, but that they're able to do different hours and have some flexibility. So that's an area right now that we've sanctioned certain programs this year. We've expanded some of those seats, but we'll be in the process over the next couple of years. There's an actual DESE process we go through to be able to sanction that program and what that program's intent is.
The other question I had was about transitions, preparing the student, especially a student on an IEP, to transition into the workforce. And are we, how robust is that system? Like, I know from my work at Perkins that there was a lot of effort went into preparing young people for independent living and being able to have a job and have some meaningful occupation when they leave the school system.
Right. So this is actually one that I'd love to go out and visit with the counselors in school committee. But we have a program called Strive, which has been here for a very long time, and they do amazing work on transition work. Some transition work is done in the schools itself for that 18 to 22-year-old. But Strive actually is an umbrella for both special education and non-special education students. And their sole purpose is workforce development. So they're really kind of meeting the students where they are. I visited the Wentworth one, where I can't speak enough about how robust it was. There's a core group of our students who are there. They are solely responsible for the recycling at Wentworth. Wentworth has provided them an entire area with office suite for the Strive staff. And they do everything from collection of the recycling to the actual stripping and processing of the materials, to the bundling, to the removal. And that is all on them. There's also a construction arm that they have as well. This is an area that we want to be able to build up even more. And they see some 3,000 students, during the course of time. And then to do the same in our high schools, which is we used to have Strive programming located in almost all of our high schools. That has sort of been scaled back. So this is an area that I'll be working closely with Dr. Chen and with Ted Lombardi from the secondary office on.
It'll be particularly important as we work towards inclusion to make sure that...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So I often talk about the fact that I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school, and I'm very proud of that. That is having interrupted education and going through my own journey. But since then, I'm still the only person in my family that has graduated Boston Public Schools. And that's 30 years later. And so I've had 3 nieces that have gone through the Boston Public Schools. None have graduated. None. So when I sit here and have these conversations, it's not political. It is very personal. And I think that there is something to be said about showing up to work every single day and expecting different results. And that's why I've been incredibly generous with my patients with Boston Public Schools, because I am hopeful that we're going to take the right turn to get us to where we need to be. So I just want to name that. And my daughter now is in Boston Public Schools. So if we can get her out of there, she'll be the 2nd person in my family to graduate from Boston Public Schools. And so there's a lot of work for us to do to get there. And that's why, you know, it's hard for me to come into this chamber and not be as aggressive as I need to be, because this is what this moment calls for. Because like me, there are thousands of other families right now who are experiencing the same thing that I'm experiencing. And so there's a level of accountability that I have as the chair of education to show up in a way that is a little bit more saucy, if I will. So I'm curious about your the breakdown of the employees by race and gender over the last 5 years. You know, Boston Public Schools has a high percentage of Latino students. I believe it's 43 or 41% of Boston Public Schools students are Latinx. But yet only 14% were, we had employees 14% in 2018, and we've only gone up 3% in 2022 with 17%. That's still pretty low in terms of meeting the moment, right? And we also look at Black employees by race. It was 31% in 2018, and in 2022, it's only 32.7. And so there's something here, and then I just don't know what it is, but I just don't know why either we're having a hard time recruiting people of color, or we're having a hard time retaining them. And I don't know what the culture is within BPS, but I do know that if we don't shift the culture, then we're not going to retain the talent. So I'd like to hear what you are doing to shift that.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a combination of both. I do think last year to this year, we had a higher retention rate of our educators of color, which was great. But I think overall, few things. I think on the hiring, some of the questions that Counselor Fernandez-Anderson asked about what we're doing with recruitment, I'm sorry, with retention, all of that helps to ensure that we're moving our pipeline of educators of color that are in our paraprofessional positions or our teaching positions and moving them forward. I think on the recruitment side, this is particularly important. We have about 1,000 educators of color that are under waiver right now. And so our focus right now is making sure that we're giving them supports to be able to ensure that they can get their licensure. So that's the retention side. I think on the recruitment side, this is really about establishing strong pipeline partnerships, teacher lounge. I'm meeting later on tomorrow with the Greater Boston Latino Network, really trying to reach out to as many of the organizations that we believe can help us with the recruitment pieces. It's also about intentionality at the hiring at the school level. And so this is something from both accountability, but also, I think, awareness of us working with our school leaders on their open positions to make sure that they know who's available that's currently in the system without a position, but also going out and as we recruit, making sure that those lists come to them. And then being accountable for making sure that their school hiring reflects their student population, right? So it's all of that.
Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned this morning, I was at the Sumner. I'm working with the family liaisons there to help increase Latino family engagement, because many of the parents didn't even know the parent council existed. And so that's unacceptable, that me, as a city councilor, have been spending my time and energy building capacity at a school that has asked me to come and support them. So I want to talk a little bit about investments that we're making in family engagement in particular for more recent arrivals. So can you talk to me about your strategy for that?
So Councilor, were you referring specifically to the students that are the most recent arrival to schools?
I'm talking about the families and family engagement, specifically Latino parents, that I have been spending my free time volunteering at the Sumner, educating parents about their rights, about the American education system, how they navigate it, the merger. They didn't even know it was happening. And so I'm just curious in terms of investments, what are we doing to build capacity so that a city councilor isn't spending her time volunteering to increase engagement at a school that has a high percentage of Latino parents that have no clue of what's going on?
Thank you for clarifying. One of the ways in which we're doing very specific and targeted outreach for Latino parents in the Rosendale area is working really closely with the school leadership, because we recognize that there's absolutely a need. You already described it, I don't have to repeat it. And really building capacity with their family liaisons who actually have the language capacity to reach out to families, and working very closely with Noel Green and his team to do a lot of targeted and robust professional development on what does that look like. And then working with organizations that are both local and organizations that work with us as partners. For example, St. Stephen's and C-Plan, and really utilizing the partnerships that we have in order to develop opportunities for school-based folks to be able to do that work that you mentioned.
So there's still a disconnect though, because the center
Absolutely.
reached out to me for support. So there is definitely something that we need to
Absolutely.
look into, because yes, I appreciate the fact that I'm the chair of the education, but Latino parents in particular, and those who are immigrants and recent arrivals, are not being embraced in ways that help support them in navigating through the system. And then I just want to ask one more question, Chair, if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
On Friday, I also worked with some parents who are in shelter. And there were two particular moms that have been in the shelter for a year and a half, BPS parents that have yet to hear about vouchers that they can qualify for. So I'm curious again in terms of communication and rollout, what are we doing to really help inform families about the opportunities that exist for them to be able to apply, to have access to this information?
Counselor, your support is critical and always appreciated, and similar to the way that I mentioned the summer internships, wondering how we can, when we connect with families like you did, to have them also know what are the resources that are out there, and making sure that they can connect with a live person, and Counselor, you can always reach out to me to connect with a family. I'm always at your service. And also making sure that we plug the helpline, and we plug in with the social workers of the school, and we plug in with the community folks that are working at the school level with our families. Those are the places where sometimes the connections, and you're right, they're missed, and the places where we need to be much more vigilant, and the places where I want to make sure that we work together.
Yeah, but at some point, there has to be some accountability where families actually have easy access, so that we're not playing traffic control. We're not playing that. I mean, yes, we play a role, but I already work 12 to 13 hours a day, already just trying to juggle the 700 constituents that I'm responsible for. But then layer that on top of also having to direct traffic to organizations or to, you know, the BPS, that you're supposed to already have that infrastructure. So you're asking us to provide you funding, but yet those dollars are not, it doesn't seem like the dollars are matching up to the services that are supposed to be rendered for families.
Yeah, so if I may, so a couple, I think you're absolutely right, that this is about building an infrastructure that doesn't focus on us serving one person at a time. A couple things. I think the family liaison role is fairly new in the sense that a lot of the focus was on the hiring. A lot has to be around the training. So this summer, I know that that Anna will be working with her shop to make sure that family liaisons all do have the information and are trained, particularly to hit the ground running. The community connector positions are the other one that comes to mind with this, because I think sometimes where there's disconnect is if the resource lies on the school side, we can attach it. When it lies on the city side, unless people are trained in it and they know it, they don't necessarily know where the handoff is. The goal, as you know, with the city connectors is that those folks are going to know what city agencies are, what's available, and homeless is actually one of the top things that we listed in that job description. So that's going to be another cadre of folks who are going to be able to support and help, particularly in the after hours, doing home visits, you know, and we will make intention for any family that's new to the school, because I think that's the other place that sometimes gets dropped when they're new to the school, that we make that connection with them through the connectors. So I think it's going to be a variety of things, but you're right, at day's end, counselor, we have to be able to account for every family. And I also just want to say I deeply appreciate your support, not only on the family engagement side, but also on the mental health side, to know and see what you did at the Burke and helping the young people to pull together their mental health day, and how successful that was, meant a lot to our whole district.
Thank you. I just needed some clarification. So what do you call the connectors?
The community connectors.
And then what's the difference between the family and community outreach coordinators, the FCOCs, and or managers, and the family liaisons?
Yep.
I can respond to the family liaison because that's a school-based position that every single school across our district has. So those are the family liaisons that are school-based, and they support schools directly from their school community.
Every school has one.
Family liaison, or sometimes two, depending on the size of the school, and they're full-time.
So 1 to 2.
Full-time.
Yeah,
Okay.
full-time positions.
And with the community connection coordinators, the idea there is that there'll be two types, two different shifts. One will be a 9 to 4 shift, and another one will be an 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift. And the idea is that they're also in the community doing this off-hours work in the community and then bringing that information and work back to school. So the idea is that it straddles both the school time and after-school hours, so they can do evening events, community meetings, engage with families at home, that kind of thing.
Got it. So basically you split, do you still have FCOCs?
Yes, those still exist, and that's largely school-based during school time, although there's some like after-school like work that's done. But with these community connecting coordinators, they're actually physically out in the community and like going into the community and working with community-based organizations, et
But
cetera.
the family liaisons are in schools too?
Yes.
And so are the FCOCs?
Yes.
And how many FCOCs do you have per school?
I don't know that. We have to get that information.
Okay. So family liaisons, 1 to 2 per school. Community connectors, how many of those per school?
We'll have 18 total, so there'll be 9 per region. I'm sorry, two per region.
How many schools in a region?
About 15, thereabouts.
12 to 15.
2 per region. And so 15 schools. No, 30 schools.
That's right.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
What?
No, there's an AM and a PM per region, so 2 per region.
2 per region, yeah, I was right, okay.
So 2
15.
for 15.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul.
So 1 per 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1 per
kinda.
There's 12 to 15 schools in each region. There'll be an AM and a PM of the community coordinator, community connectors per region. So if they have 15 schools, there'll be an AM and a PM for those 15 schools.
Understood. Alternating the 30 schools.
Exactly.
However, though, they're all targeted to tier 3 support, so they'll be targeted with students that really need support, so they won't be focusing all students. It'll be just a target the tier 3.
Not everyone needs a home visit. Got it.
Sorry.
So what about social workers? How many?
again, it ranges on the school, anywhere between 1 or half and 3. It depends on the size of the school. There's a heavy concentration in our middle and high schools.
A minimum of a part-time.
A part-time, yeah. And then
It's actually, we
moved to 1, sorry,
It's a
we
minimum
increased to
of-
1.
Minimum of a full-time FTE per school.
That's right, sorry, we increased it.
And with the additional life social workers, some schools might have as many as 4.
And some schools staff above and beyond that as well, that's why the.
And how many guidance counselors? Are those the social workers as well?
Off the top of my head, I would have to go back on the guidance because it's focused at the high school.
Guidance counselors, so there, we have 135 guidance counselors for next year.
Okay. How
and-
many BPS schools?
119 schools, but again, the guidance is focused on the 7 to 12.
Yes. Councilman Hare?
I need to clarify something here. The community connector positions are not supposed to be coming out of the BPS budget, right?
They did not come out of the budget that was presented to school committee. It was out of the city as a separate allocation, as a unit that came over to us post what had been through the school committee.
So just so that I'm clear, can you just for the record clarify for me if that budget is allocated towards, is coming out of BPS?
Who's
yes or
paying
no?
for the family connectors, for the community connectors?
I need to know where the money, who's paying for it?
This is currently funded, this is in our current
It
budget.
wasn't supposed to be though, right?
Thank you.
This,
It's in the budget. Thank you.
It wasn't, okay. According,
Is that your answer, final answer? It's in the budget?
it's in your BPS budget.
The community connector positions are in the BPS budget.
But
Got
they
it.
came as additional dollars from the city specifically for that unit.
For FY24.
Yeah.
Thank you. Council Flynn, you have the floor. Thank you for allowing me to clarify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you again to the panel. Superintendent, I heard you talking about the Wentworth partnership, and I had the opportunity as well to visit there maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's an outstanding program, workforce training, educational program. Superintendent, can you talk about some of the other unique programs that colleges and universities or hospitals are doing that are putting our students on a path to a career, a path to training and education, a path to success?
Sure. So, I mean, it ranges. We have in the career tech area, health careers is a big one for us, and there it ranges everything from health assistants to nursing. Certainly the life sciences, biomedical is a big one that is enhancing, as is green new technology. And there, it may be anything from lab and science all the way up to engineering. Certainly in the STEM side of the house with technology and engineering, it can be in computers, it can be anything from programming. I just celebrated a program with Microsoft that's in Quincy Upper and BLA, where students are learning to become programmers, so they get access to computer AP. And then there's others like JROTC does leadership programming in our schools, and so they're in several of ours for actually all branches of the military. That's another form of leadership. So it really varies. There's lots of opportunities, and this will increase for our high schoolers. Opportunities for them. Year Up is another one that comes in senior year, really talks to our students about wanting to take not a gap year, but a year where they can actually spend going to college, and in 2 or 3 different areas they are guaranteed a paid internship that then often turns into their continuation of college and career after that.
Thank you, Superintendent. I know recently Congressman Lynch was able to get funding for UMass Boston for their nursing program, probably the best nursing program around, that in Boston College, certainly. UMass Boston has an excellent program. What are we doing in terms of partnering with UMass Boston so our high school students that are involved in the medical studies area are able to access the education at UMass Boston?
So we have several early college programs with UMass Boston right now. Brighton actually is launching one that's of interest, which is biomedicine, and it's also medical technology. And so what we're finding is UMass really wants to play a deep role with us in healthcare, but also in life science. We're having some conversations right now about BCLA and McCormick in the area, since they're in proximity to UMass Boston, as being a natural place where early college could happen.
Thank you. The Year Up program, I think that was that the program? Council Flaherty probably can speak on it, but I know he was active on that educational program as well. So I guess my final question, Superintendent, I know you highlighted the JROTC program, and I know you've been a supporter of that program for a long period of time, and I see these young students, probably one of the most diverse group of students you could possibly see, and I love seeing them, whether they're from Excel High School or East Boston High or Charlestown High, but they receive an excellent education, excellent leadership, and they're really committed to their studies and getting involved in the community. I guess my question is, I always heard that the principals at some of these schools always had the opportunity to reduce or to water down or to eliminate the program, unfortunately. But I'm a champion of that program. I think it works. I think it's an excellent program. And I don't want to see it eliminated. I don't want to see it decreased. Can you give us your thoughts about that program, Superintendent?
Sure. So I've actually, as I've been doing a lot of meetings with the different leadership programs that come into BPS, met with JRTC most recently. I think there's been two stressors in the schools. One is a fiscal trade-off, and particularly with things like arts and music and librarians. And so as we've been able to shift some of those dollars as part of the quality guarantee, I do think there's opportunity there for schools to revisit that. I think the second thing is that JRTC has evolved where it's not just leadership, but the students can actually get credit, course credit, for particular areas, such as, depending on the branch, everything from civics to the sciences, to electives, which fits into the Mass Core. So I think that there's an opportunity to, with fresh eyes, take a look at it, and certainly, bring it to our school principals once again to sort of see what could fit. The schedule at the high school level is really tough. It's like this is where I think JRTC has been thinking out of the box about how to be able to do it different than it's once a week. It's every week, every day, every week. For 4 years. So it seems like they've become much more flexible, and I think the principals need to hear that so that they can see, it may be a small group of students that are interested in it or a larger group depending, but we want to offer our young people as much option as possible.
Thank you, and I'm glad to hear that. I see the young people at Excel High School several times, well, probably once a month anyway, at various events throughout the community. And they show up in uniform, they do community service, they're part of the community, they're part of the neighborhood, they're doing volunteer work, they're respected, they take pride in themselves, and again, it's the most diverse group of students I've seen, and just want to highlight that program is critical to so many young people that really want to learn about leadership, they want to learn about accountability, they want to learn about civic lessons and being part of a team. So just want to highlight how important it is to the city of Boston for a strong and vibrant JROTC. I know you share that, Superintendent, so I just want to say thank you for your commitment to that program. Madam Chair, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Flynn. Councilor Worrell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few questions around the line items. Is why the increase in contracted services?
Contracted services is a place where we have a number of different items budgeted, including partnership funds, funding for external services. So contracted services, the increase has to do with increased costs of existing contracts. It's also a place where early in the budget process, schools will place funding into the contracted services at this point in the year. And then as they develop their full spending plan over the summer to get ready for the next school year, we'll transfer money out of contracted services. So oftentimes the change in contracted services from a fiscal year to the next at this point in the year is really a budgeting exercise more than it is a true increase in spending.
All right, and then how much of ESSER funds, unspent ESSER funds, can we or have we allocated to contracted services in the past year or in the current year?
How much of the unspent have we reallocated, in new spending?
Right.
Good afternoon now. I got it right this time. We have increased our ESSER contracted spending by about $1 million projected from the current year to next year.
So wait, what's the unspent amount of ESSER funds?
So let me look up. So the balance as of today, or not today, the date we pulled it, the balance of the day we pulled it was $247 million. Of that $247 million, a large amount of it is already sort of budgeted. The vast majority of that $247 million is already budgeted between now and the end of that funding period running out, which is at the end of September 2024. So we have plans for the vast majority of that $247 million.
But we have reallocated unspent ESSER funds in the past to contracted services, right? I believe in the BPS overview that was released on February 23rd, it was $4.5 million
Yep.
that was reallocated to City Air, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right. So we are able to reallocate unspent ESSER funds to city contracts, right?
Yes.
Or contracted services.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Excuse me a moment. Councilor Worrell, can I pause your time for a second?
Yeah.
Just a clarification, did you say 247 million ESSER funds was originally budgeted, and what was spent?
No, so, sorry, 247 million is remaining to be spent
Okay.
between, it was probably 2 weeks ago now when we pulled the data, and the end of the time period. That doesn't include, so that would be things like salaries, right, that haven't, been spent yet, and contracts that are still in progress.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councilor.
Thank you. So it seemed like there's some cost savings that we're going to be receiving, that we might, receive through ESSER funds. And I guess my question is, does that kind of inflate, the city contracted services? Like if we're increasing city contracted services, then we're going to be seeing savings on ESSER funds, as we have seen in the past. Is the contracted number a little inflated?
I don't think our contracted services numbers necessarily inflated this year relative to others. I do think as we start to look at spending down ESSER, one of the ways in which we have underspending in ESSER has to do with our vacancies, and so budgeted positions that are not being filled or unable to be filled. As we get later in the ESSER spending, we will likely convert that to contracting spending because it's a more, it doesn't sort of set us up for positions that won't continue or staff that we won't be able to retain post-ESSER. So as we get into year 3 of ESSER, we'll likely be doing more either supplies, contract spending, or contracted services spending.
Is it possible to get, through the chair, a up-to-date, because I believe the last one was it October? Of ESSER funds?
The report that you have that we submitted last week includes the most up-to-date spending. It's about 2 weeks old now, but that's the current spend rate. As David mentioned, we do have plans to spend the full ESSER amount, so we're not anticipating significant underspending, but we do plan for, as you know, with any budget that large, there's going to be areas where things come in under budget and things come in over budget.
And then, right, and anything that's under budgeted, the BPS has the ability to reallocate. Right.
Yes.
And we have seen 60% or 40% cost savings in some of those initiatives, right? All right, thank you. No further questions.
Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm trying to condense all of my priorities into, I think, 3 minutes is what I have, so I'll be quick.
No, you have
and-
8.
I have 8 still? Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, Otis School, what is the update on that? Last I heard it was going to the Massachusetts School Building Authority. What happened with that, and what's the timeline for getting that up and running? We spent a lot of money on it. That's 189 Paris Street in East Boston?
Yeah, my understanding is that we did not get funding for that through MSBA.
Okay. So it's now, who has ownership of it? Is it still?
It's still
Yes.
city property that we do, that the city does own, and we'll just need to determine next steps and what we do with that through the Green New Deal process. So we're in the phase now where we're wrapping up the facilities condition assessment, finalizing the design study, and once we do that, then we'll look at the whole city picture, including Parish Street, on what we do next.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to appeal that decision, to go back to the building authority? I mean, I think we're going to need.
Those are annual applications, so it would be like
Oh,
an
okay.
annual application. We have to also prioritize what other projects we want to submit for MSBA. So it's an annual process that we go through.
Is it typical that you submit more than one per year?
It's possible, yes.
Okay.
There's 2 projects, there's 2 types. There's the acceleration repair, and then there's the actual proposal to redo a building. But in general, if it's redoing a building, it's 1 that we would put in per cycle. If it's the acceleration and repair, which is roofs and windows and ventilation, those we can put in multiples.
Okay. I know that there was discussion about expanding the Newcomers Academy to my district, which is great, again. Is that, has there been discussions about that building being the location? Like, where are you all thinking?
Yeah, no, I think it's a different building that we're looking to potentially either lease or buy.
Okay. Thank you for clarification on that. So my questions will go through climate science and environmental justice curriculum, health teachers, dual enrollment, and arts. So I know that that's the full slate, and if we need to follow up through the chair for more information, then we can do that. So earlier, or late last year rather, I put forth a climate science and environmental justice curriculum idea, expanding that, getting that into all of our schools, as East Boston in particular being an environmental justice community. There is a discussion about a pilot program with Eastie Farm and the Harbor Keepers, and potentially linking this to the civics projects that kids have to do. Our kids are going to inherit all of the human impacts that we're currently putting forth on our environment. So just wondering if there's any updates on that, and if there has been an allocation for that pilot program, or conversations about that pilot program.
Dr. Chen, do you have anything on that one?
We'll need to get back to you on specifics. Thank you, but we have been engaging multiple partners, but we'll make sure to get back on that specifically.
Okay, thank you. Health teachers. So when I was an aide, I was looking into the vacancies of our health teachers and our licensed professionals. And as of 2019, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we were not meeting our standards when it comes to giving our kids health education, and that includes sex ed, which is a topic that is important to me, just because we didn't have enough licensed professionals for this particular area. So I'm wondering if you have any updates on that, and if we're still short when it comes to those teachers.
Dave, do we have
David, can you just take a look at for the health teachers, what are, have we increased positions?
I think for health teachers, we'll have to come back at the academics hearing with a more detailed answer on that.
Thank you, I look forward to that. You mentioned something about dual enrollment, which is an incredible program. What are the increases to that, and how is that reflected inside and outside the classroom?
Right, so we do 2 forms. One is dual enrollment, and sometimes that is where a college professor will either come to the high school, or they will certify a teacher within BPS to teach the course for college credit. And then there's early college, where generally the students are going on site to be able to get their education. So this will be an area that we'll be expanding every year. We're now up to, I believe, 7 early college sites, with Fenway being the pilot for a wall-to-wall, meaning one whole year. And so this is, as in our vision of early college and career, we see, for students to have experience on both sides. We know in the latest college data that we've seen a decrease in enrollment coming straight out of high school into college, which is a national trend, but nonetheless, we have to pay attention to it. We've also seen that our persistence, so over 6 years of students successfully matriculating for be it a 2-year, 4-year, or technical, has also decreased. We also see that students that participate in AP, dual enrollment, IB, and then certainly early college.
What is IB? Sorry.
IB, International and Baccalaureate.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we have 2 schools, Snowden and Quincy Upper, and one other that's exploring it. But we see that students that participate in the rigor and the experience of college level work with our support, that those students are much more likely to enroll in college, straight out of high school, and to successfully matriculate. So this will be an area with Success Boston that we will be rebooting and expanding to all of the high schools. But it has to be done thoughtfully so that we can really create partnerships between the colleges and the school for what the career paths will be.
As part of all of those programs, is there an opportunity for kids to, and I heard you talk about this, but I don't know if it's the same thing, but to earn a wage through, if you're doing an early college and get an internship, if you're trying to do programming and you get an internship at Google, are you earning money? Because what usually happens through East Boston High School is that these kids, they are working 2 or 3 jobs even outside of the classroom. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for that or what that looks like.
This is the area we should be working toward. We will work toward, but right now the way that it's generally structured is with Mass Core, students are allowed what's the equivalent of 2 courses worth of experience. So they can do 2 full internships, but they're getting course credit for it. Where you see that connection to the wage is that often as students become connected with a particular higher ed or a particular business, they'll be offered some kind of paid employment. And certainly some of those would be paid internships, just not during the school year per se. But I do think this is an area, to Councilor Fernandez-Anderson's point, that we should be exploring because we often put our students in this situation of either work or school, and it's not viable. So we will be.
Thank you. And my last question just has to do with the arts. I don't see arts mentioned anywhere in this presentation. I'm the chair of the Arts and Culture Committee, and so my question is, what does that look like? Are we expanding that line item? I know that there was a partnership with music education, and I went to that announcement at the Curtis Guild. It was beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for that. But fully encompassing arts, visual arts, dance, how are we investing in our kids that way?
So our line item focused on arts in particular is up 6.5 positions and about $1.3 million going from this year into next year across all funds. Music is up about 4 positions or about $800,000. And I think that covers, that's sort of the buckets that it's all consolidated into.
Thank you. That's my time.
Thank you, Councilor Poletta. Councilor Flaherty, you have the floor. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good to see you. Everything's great. And thank you, Superintendent, and as well as all members of the team. And following up maybe on the arts question, on the same par, obviously it's BPS athletics, school sports, school pride, having good fields and athletic facilities and uniforms and equipment. Sometimes there's the difference between keeping a kid in school and not, getting them off the street corner, away from drugs and guns and gangs, maybe also put them in a position to compete potentially for a college scholarship. So just want to make sure we're throwing a shoulder, in addition to the arts, that we're keeping our BPS athletics. They compete against folks across the city, but also suburban counterparts, so making sure that we have up-to-date equipment and uniforms that we can be proud of, and fields, et cetera, that we can be proud of. That's of paramount importance to me. In addition, I'm excited obviously about, and I'm just going to kind of read through some of my questions and then you can take them. I'm excited about Boston Year 13, hoping that it will focus on STEM. I've long felt that our curriculum should match our local economy. We boast the best colleges, universities, hospitals, network of community health centers, financial services, life science, you name it. Everybody wants to be in Boston. CEOs are moving their companies to Boston, which is the good news, right? Bad news is obviously cost of living and housing prices have risen. But in order to backfill that workforce, and it's not good enough that we're getting the loading dock and the and being able to obviously build the building and handling the mailroom. We want to make sure that we're participating in those careers that can change the trajectory of an individual and or their family and create generational wealth. So just want to make sure that we continue to focus on STEM. We continue to focus on the abilities to put men and women to work, particularly through our trades. My hope is that Madison Park at some point will be as boastful as some of our best colleges and universities. They often talk about the one that's out in Worcester. I want Madison Park to be the best voc tech trade school, et cetera, in the state, and whatever we need to do to make that happen, because the jobs are there. If we have a curriculum over there that matches the economy, similar to hopefully what year 13 is going to do, we're going to make a huge difference in our students' life. And then just shifting gears to make sure that our teachers have the resources that they need to do what they do best, which is the education of our BPS students. I want to just dial in a little bit on our execution of courts and our outside legal bills and outside auditors and outside experts to make sure that we're getting that under control. If we continue to be sued, if we continue to have audit and accounting issues, et cetera, that causes us to sort of lose focus, which is our primary mission, is the education of our children. And then we're now focused more on the back of the house and cleaning up the spills as opposed to dealing in the front of the house. But also precious resources go to deal with and address and fix those problems. So if we've got an issue over it at the mothership and that folks at the back of the house aren't paying attention, then we need to address that sooner rather than later, and that might be whole-scale changes. That might mean that we need to adjust folks' capacity to handle certain issues. And then obviously on the transportation stuff, we continue to see transportation costs balloon. So we get transportation costs ballooning while school enrollment is decreasing. And the costs are obviously, it's the fuel, it's the maintenance, it's the repair, it's the insurance. Those are significant sort of fixed costs that continue to rise with the times at the same time when we're seeing the enrollment come down. So finding ways to identify that. I know we had a little bit of an issue and a glitch with not only the assignment process, but also the transportation process, and making sure that under your leadership and your team's leadership that you're well aware of those issues, and when there are gaffes or kerfuffles, they cost a lot of money to address, and again, that's money that should be going right into the classroom for teaching and learning, and the before and after school and the wraparound. So I'm on the team, obviously, as a longtime supporter and longtime counselor, supporting our Boston Public Schools in the mission, which is the education of the future of our city. And when you think about all of the great opportunity we have in our city and how boastful we are about those opportunities, we need to make sure that that's trickling out to our neighborhoods, but also to our schools, and preparing that next generation of student to compete in those spaces. So year 13, Madison Park, arts and sports, and making sure that resources are making to the classroom. And then just lastly, if you could just maybe just touch on our relationships with our colleges and universities. Do they need to be strengthened? What are we getting? Are we getting a good bang for the buck out of them? Of course, the pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes, they have a different formula. Are we getting to use their facilities? And if so, which schools and which facilities? Are we getting some volunteerism from their student bodies and or their course curriculums? Do we get support in the classroom through instruction, whether it's regular education through their schools of education, or even through our arts program? So I'd like to get a sense as to what are our colleges and universities doing for us, because while we support them, and they are a big part of why we're on the map nationally and internationally, with thousands of students coming here every single year to get higher education, we want to make sure as the host city that they're partnering with our Boston Public Schools, because the travesty is that while we have these great schools, not enough of our kids are getting into these schools. And the ones that are fortunate enough to, and more often than not, they're the top of the class, they may be the valedictorians, or they finished the straight A's. When they get to these schools, many instances they don't finish, worst case scenario, some of them are home after their first semester. And so churning that trajectory, I think Boston Year 13 will do that. They'll get exposure to college prep classes, they'll get exposure to STEM, to internships, lean on some of those partnerships, and we'll be able to turn the tide. But nothing worse than, you know, kid in the Alice Taylor Public Housing Development. And I go back, I was born in the old harbor projects, and you could say the same thing. You could be from the D Street projects, look straight down D Street, and have no sense of connection to the hope and the opportunity that is literally coming out of the ground with a lot of these companies that are providing tremendous opportunity. But you could be over at Alice Taylor, literally stare across the street at either Northeastern or Wentworth, and that kid has no sense of connection or hope to be able to be in that classroom and to come across the stage with that diploma. They might be able to sneak on the field every once in a while or climb over the fence and play when the teams are not there. There may be some type of partnership they have. There might be a cookout in the summer that the schools do with the development. But in general, those kids don't have a sense of connection. We need to close that gap, if you will. So that's my opine, but also weaved in some questions. And we want to continue to support you, Superintendent Skipper, and your team. There's a lot of great things that you've done to date since you've been here, and we're expecting and hoping for better things to come in the future.
Great.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So thank you, Counselor. First of all, for your advocacy for the 13th year, and absolutely right. I think the early college and the career CTE kind of programming, we believe, is going to make the connections to the businesses in Boston. We're working with the Chamber right now around kind of looking at what are the areas of the industry sectors, how can we, for our high schools, kind of bring to them partnerships with the businesses. The Chamber's interested in doing an RFP with us to look at 3 or 4 cities like Boston where we could really kind of model what that menu could look like to staff up and support the early college and career efforts. I think on the athletics, 100% arts, music, athletics, these are all the things that students love to come to school for and gives them instant community as well. I know that either Nate or David could tell the increase in athletics, but we've used a bunch of the ESSER dollars to be able to fund uniforms, increase, improve facilities, locker rooms, coaches, increase number of coaches, things like that. So definitely one area of investment for us we believe in. On the outside external piece, it'll be my glorious day when we don't have one more report from an external person to read, because it'll speak to the fact that what we're doing inside is working. I do think that we are investing in our risk assessment inside our risk management office as a way to build our own capacity to be able to make sure that we're reviewing data, we're looking at what's happening, and so it doesn't take an external audit to be able to do that. That said, we are responsible and accountable for the audits that have come before, and so our intention, we just presented at school committee, is to make sure that we're making progress in each of those critical areas, transportation being one of them. And I think, on transportation, what I would say is, I think there's a lot of cost savings that will happen as we strengthen the quality of our schools and parents feel confident in the schools that are around them. I also think inclusion is another area that, as we roll that out, that means we don't have to bus a student across the city to get to a bilingual program or to get to an area that a school that is going to have programming that supports their disability. Right now, that's not the case, so there's lots of cost savings to be had there as well. And then finally, on the business and the college piece, I think we are building a lot of our relationships back in the college and university area. I've been out to a number of them, meeting with the presidents, talking about what our students in our schools need and want, making sure that it isn't, to your point, kind of this division and this line where that's the wonderful world and our kids are over here. But having our students be able to set foot on those colleges, taking courses, having the college students in partnership and interacting with our students as mentors, as, that was one of the wonderful BLA, actually, their AP computer, the partnerships with Microsoft, they have a full-time Microsoft person in teaching with the AP teacher to be able to explain the connection of how industry would code. And what the student said is, love our teacher, but sometimes this person actually teaches us the shorter way to do it because it's tied to business, it's tied to economy. So it's not the theoretical. So I think it's finding all those different kinds of connectors between the colleges, the businesses, and most importantly, how to take all that resource, because this is Boston, and bringing that to our students.
And thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate your leadership, and arguably has been lacking in that position for several years, my opinion, and look forward to working with you and your team moving forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Flaherty. I really appreciated that you brought up again the college and school partnerships, as well as the arts. I think that I know that a lot of constituents in District 7 and Madison Park families are advocating for arts in Madison Park. Recently in the Capitol sort of community engagement meetings, folks, there was no mention of arts in particularly. The parents were mentioning it, but it's not in the plan. So I was deeply concerned about that. A lot of what I saw was, I think, culinary, hospitality, and it just kept people in service. And so it's like, okay, so everybody that goes to Madison Park, you go to service. There weren't real vocational connections other than repairing what's already in place. So I'm really interested in continuing that process with the planners and designers and engineers or whomever, architects in these meetings, but also making sure that community is heard, that it's a more robust plan. And I did go through a list from your programs, a list of all of your programs, and it seems like a lot of things are being cut, different programs, and I'm not sure if it's because something else is replacing it or it just didn't make any sense. And just so from your point of view, Superintendent, and particularly the Boston Adult High School, there's zero appropriation for FY24. There's a huge list. I don't want to go through the whole list. There's a lot of good programs coming in, but a lot of things also being no funds allocated to them. And then the civics teaching and learning, I had a question about that. There's only $61,000 allocation, so I didn't really quite understand if it was like just one position. Comprehensive Behavioral Health Model Initiative, I really appreciate that it was, $339,124. And I guess this is page 284 of the budget book, 285 of the budget book, by the way. I know earlier when I mentioned certain programs that you were questioning where they were coming from. So I had to find it for you. And then the early education incubator, wanted to understand a little bit about that. I guess early college, incubator, and then early college planning was cut, and I wasn't sure how it was consolidated or what's the plan there. The emergency food relief services, also $0 allocated for that, for FY24. Financial literacy planning, back in, I think, FY21, there was $10,000, and I'm not sure why it's only $10,000, but what is that program and why there's no money going toward it? The fresh fruit and vegetable program, at some point up to $600,000 plus $1,000 in FY22, but 23 and 24 receive nothing. And another one that I was interested in is the partnerships and social emotional, obviously understanding your partnerships, and is that contracts with third-party nonprofits or mental health clinics that are providing these services in school base. The social emotional learning got $0 allocated FY24. And then the Special Olympics, $0. Special Olympics Unified Champion Schools, $0 allocation as well. Just some of the things that I really care about, and just wondering why the decrease, or did it go somewhere else, or what's happening?
Thank you, Chair. If we could, I'm going to go back with the team and follow up on the line items that you just listed so we could provide some details. I apologize. I don't have the city's budget book in front of me, and that's my mistake. So we'll follow up and with those line items to get the backup as to what's happening with them.
I have copies of the city's budget book, but do you mean that you need to respond to my question specifically with more time?
As a follow-up, yeah, if we could.
No problem.
Counselor, I did want to just make one point on the adult ed. So currently, adult ed falls in different places. Sometimes it falls under city, and sometimes it falls under school district. Here, it's under the school district, and it's historically was with me at the high schools. So because of the large number of 18 to 24-year-olds who are trying to recover back, they're missing a diploma. And they really need, they need supports that are a little bit more extensive than what would typically be in adult ed for somebody trying to get their diploma. Adult ed is going through a bit of a restructure to try to figure out how to get that. Like, for instance, they have to pass the MCAS. Like, there's things that they have to do that an older person wouldn't have to do. So they're in the process right now of a bit of restructuring. And adult ed lives off of grants. They're heavily funded by the state grants. I bring this up because historically, what is underfunded is the amount of classes for adult ed offering for ESL. And so thinking about the amount of newcomers that we have who are here and who are coming in the last couple of years, it is a tension point because for us to give the classes in the budget to the high schoolers so that they can in fact graduate and get their diplomas, there will be some trade-off where we won't have the dollars to put toward additional adult ESL. So I say this because I think it's important for the city to think about it, because it's needed for the parents and the adults to be able to get that access.
That's super important. I know a lot about that because I would connect folks to either Notre Dame, or I would connect folks to, what's the one on Bowdoin Street?
The New Bostonian?
No, the Bowdoin Street one where they get DSL, but also GED. But yeah, that one.
Picture it.
And also Roxbury Community College.
RCC, yep.
But then you have to pay. And so the access and then getting classes in, other languages, obviously, not available. And sometimes people coming in with degrees and having to translate that, they still have to attain their GED before they can do anything else. So I'm interested in looking into that. And I filed a hearing order to basically look into how BPS is addressing the needs of ELL parents, not the students, but specifically the parents, because how do you create that homeschool connection, or how do you equip the parents with homework tools to be able to assist their children at home? But I'll submit any other questions, because I know I have the department, for 5 more hearings. So I'll stop there. I think Councilor Mejia has the last round of questions, and then we'll close out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the administration for hanging in there. We're almost done. So I'm curious if you could just talk to me a little bit about, I'm still, do you hear that echo? Is it me? Mm-hmm. Can we fix that echo? Go ahead. Yep, thank you. Okay, can you just tell us a little bit about the how BPS and the city's using the racial equity planning tool to prioritize schools to receive ventilation improvements so that we're advancing equity for BIPOC students?
Sure.
English language learners and students with disabilities. And can you just, in your answer, just walk me through this process?
Thank you for the question. Dr. Grandson and his team are working in collaboration with folks in facilities, and then the different projects that are in motion absolutely are required to meet that standard with reviewing the tool.
Are you going to be releasing that information publicly for each of the substantial improvements that you plan to make?
That's definitely part of the process, to be as transparent as possible with the community.
So we'll have a place to go and find it?
We'll have a place to go and find it.
And how are you going to access, to assess the actual impact after the changes in questions are made?
So part of the tool itself has an auditing piece to it that is accountable to the community. And there's a committee that meets that has a cross-sectionality of community members and families that actually reviews all of the different, the tool itself has to be reviewed by this committee of folks. So there's already an iterative, like cyclical process that includes the beginning of it, the meeting with Dr. Granson's team, the actual teams that are doing whatever facilities improvements or work that's happening, and then they're required to go through the committee as well.
Thank you. And I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about some services that have not been rendered. Specifically, I'm not talking about facilities, I'm talking about speech therapy services, when they're not being provided due to staffing. Well, how does this impact the budget, and where does those dollars go?
Right, so those are organized where they're given as compensatory. So it's done through the special education office, and I believe you gentlemen will be able to tell the dollar figure, but the compensatory is done through ESSER, so.
Yeah, for services that were missed due to the disruption of the pandemic, we did have money set aside on ESSER to do compensatory services. And then in any given year when there's either staffing missing or we're unable to fulfill the services using contracts, it's through the IEP process that they designate the remediation, and then we fully fund it for the department when they identify it, and the total amount for compensatory services I'd have to.
Just, sorry, Councilor Mejia. I just noticed the time, Councilor, Commissioner, Superintendent. I had no coffee today. Superintendent Skipper, I apologize. I noticed the time, and I know that I was supposed to relieve you at 1. So please use this time to leave. So sorry. We went over time, but the rest of you can remain for Councilor Mejia's questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Superintendent. So, Nate, the Boston Herald recently published a finding this morning in particular that a Boston Finance Commission audit which found that BPS did not complete payment on a $164,000 plumbing contract bill. Are you familiar with that? Racking up since 2018?
Yes.
Okay, so can you just talk to me about what we're going to do moving forward to ensure that our budget is being used accurately and responsibly?
I'm sorry, with the two ethically and responsibly? Is that what you said?
Accurately and responsibly. Yes.
Equitably. So I think from the perspective of equitable procurement, one of the things that we're doing is making sure that we're identifying and working with local and minority women-owned businesses. That's part of the procurement process now for people who are putting together contracts, particularly those that are exempt contracts, sort of non-RFPs, to be able to identify those firms and work with them. I think also as part of it, when we work with local, particularly smaller businesses, we want to make sure that we're being efficient in how we do the contracting process so that they receive timely payment as well.
We said superintendent, not Anna. Where you going? I'm just joking.
She came late.
She came late and leaving early. Let me find out. We're going to do a rewind of this tape. Okay, so the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education released an audit in May of 2022, which found that BPS said it had completed 29 school bathroom renovations, but the state visits found that at least 2 of those sites had not been renovated. Another finding was that BPS had inflated the calculation of school buses that arrived on time, but not including its data on the buses that never showed up. So can you talk to me about the discrepancies that exist there?
Yeah, with regard to the bathroom audits, since the beginning of the work around the SIP, we've worked really closely with DESI to make sure that we all calibrated and all put eyes on what we've seen or not seen in the field. So we've gone out to visit every site in the bathroom projects that we plan on doing and had planned on doing, just to confirm everyone's expectation, and we mapped out a plan to make sure that all the bathrooms get addressed. So that's pretty much was resolved with DESI. With regard to the bus calculations, we also continue to work with them on figuring out the best way to present the data. We typically, in the past, did not include buses that didn't show up as on time or not, but we worked with DESI to make sure we included that information into the data that we provided them. So the issue there really was we did not typically, or nor we hadn't historically counted buses that didn't run as on time or not, but they wanted us to make sure we included it, so we did.
I have some questions, but they're more around the Green New Deal. Is anyone here able to talk about those things?
I'm sorry, what was
The
that?
Green New Deal? Can you guys talk about that? Is anyone here left to be able to?
What specifically do you want to know, Counselor?
So, I'm just curious, in terms of the mayor's capital budget, has several line items totaling about $60 million pertaining to ventilation in particular, repairs and improving the air quality in BPS schools. The city and BPS must, move with more urgency to get ventilation in more of our schools. And so some of the recommendations that we've been hearing from advocates, and I'm just curious what you think about this, is to use half of the $30.5 million in the Green New Deal for BPS, quote unquote, reserve, and FY24 to begin the process of installing new mechanical ventilations in schools without systems.
Currently, the work we've done with our air ventilation has been nationally recognized, and a lot of school districts are jumping on board with a lot of work that we're doing and modeling what we've done with that working space. But with regard to future investments, I know we have a combination of grants that we're securing. We have a combination of funds that were allocated with the capital budget. And we're happy to dive into more detail of it when we do present in the capital budget or budget presentation. But currently, we're not going to make any broad changing decisions on the broader Green New Deal budgets until we fully are aware of the results of the FCA and the results of the design study that comes out. And then once we look at everything in totality, then we'll make more targeted investments in different areas.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, and we have additional information about the other two bathrooms.
Just the discrepancy with the bathrooms, I think it was an issue where same school but different campuses. So the project was listed as, let's just say, I think it was the Elliott School. So it was the Elliott School, lower school, but the bathrooms that needed to be renovated were at the upper school. So I think there was just a reporting issue.
So I'm going to bring up another topic. Thank you for that. As the exam school issue.
Can I just offer some clarification? Councilman here. So just for folks watching at home, on Opportunity and Achievement Gap Curriculum, Code of Conduct, English Language Learners, Special Education and Inclusion, Literacy, Early Education, Universal Pre-K, Special Curricular Programs, AP Credit Recovery, age 22, Vocational Education or Graduation and Career Readiness, Library, MCAS, Office in Elementary Schools, Office of Secondary Schools. Some of these things we've covered in this hearing, so I think that we could probably move some of these subtopics to the hearings that's already been scheduled. That needs to, again, some of these things will be moved instead of rescheduling. And then as far as the remaining hearings and the topics, on the 22nd, May 22nd at 10 a.m., we will be holding a BPS enrichment, arts and music, athletics, after-school programming, tutoring, summer learning, and partnerships. At 2 p.m. on the same day, we'll be hosting, I'll be facilitating for social emotional learning and student supports to include behavioral and mental health supports, homeless education resource network, trauma crisis response, family liaison, social workers, and schools, psychologists, nurses, early education, hub schools. And then to the remaining, the remaining ones that we will be having is on June 5th, Boston Public Schools operations, and then that should cover the administration, transportation, food and nutrition, school safety, admin budget, central office, human capital, diversity, recruitment, evaluation, staff retention, procurement, BPS revolving funds. And so for 2 p.m. then to discuss neighborhood services and language and communication access, coming together with Boston Public Schools in order to discuss how you're working together in order to improve coordination of services. So just wanted to clarify that because we're covering a lot of the different topics for the other hearings. And just so you know, you'll have a lot of time to discuss the rest of these.
I forgot what was that? Okay, thank you for that clarification. So that means I should not be asking these questions, or what? I'm unclear about
I would
the
say,
pause.
if you could wrap up your final
Okay.
question and
Yeah,
then
I-
discuss them the
Yeah.
rest.
I guess I was just going to talk really quickly about transportation. And I do appreciate the improvements. I was going to talk about something else, but since we're wrapping up, might as well just get a sense of the transportation. Many years ago, there was this idea that we were going to focus on improving neighborhood schools as a way to reduce the amount of travel time that students are spending in empty buses to get to and from an underperforming school to another underperforming school. And I'm curious, what have we learned, since 5 or 6 years ago when we tried to embark on that journey, and what investments are we making so that we're spending our dollars in ways that are a little bit more cost effective in terms of our return on investments?
Yeah, I have a couple initial thoughts. I think in terms of travel and transportation, I think the first thing is we know that investment in school improvement is the focus, and the work that we're doing to improve instruction, core instruction in all of our schools to make sure people want the school that's closest home. I think the other piece of that in the big...
Yep, sorry. I now remember my question that I think it's really important for me to put on the record.
Okay.
And if you don't get to it tonight, because I feel like I've been here all day, you're going to give it to me when we move. I have heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, there are thousands of students who are unaccounted for that have not returned back to Boston Public Schools, and we have no idea where they are. Is that true?
In what context do you mean
That
unaccounted
since
for?
COVID, they've never returned, and we have no idea where these students are. True or false?
I guess the question is, are there a number of students that, or a decrease in registration or a decrease in students?
Students that never returned back to BPS post-COVID, and that there's a large number of students who are unaccounted for, and we do not know where they are.
So when a student
true?
when students leave the district, we do make an attempt to track where they enroll next and find out from families where they why they left the district and where they're enrolling next. And there are always, in any given year, a number of students who leave that we don't have information on where they went. So in that context, the answer is yes. There are probably thousands of students who have left that we
Thousands of
don't know.
students post-COVID that are unaccounted for, that we don't know where they are. Yes.
Yes.
Right? And this is something that I had to hear from the streets. Not something that has come from BPS, and apparently there's going to be some digging into this to identify where we have gone wrong. Yes.
Sorry, does that mean that the data doesn't, I don't understand, we don't know where they are?
So if a student unenrolls from the district and they transfer schools, they leave the country, they move somewhere else, we make an attempt to find out why they left and where they left. But if they don't respond and give us information, in the high school level, those students would get coded as a dropout, but we don't have any way to track down families if they leave without telling us. I think that's, and so that happens, on
You
a,
said not high school, not just high school students.
it's not just high school students.
These are elementary, this is something, from what I understand, a little bit alarming, and I just want to note that for the record, as we continue to talk about the budget, that we need to figure out, like, what tools we need to put in place so that we can have a better way of tracking our students and where they are, why they have left, what we need to do to be accountable to that. So I just want to just name that, Nate, that is something that has come across my desk as something that I need to lean into, and I didn't have the answer to it. So I didn't know that there are thousands of students who have disappeared from our schools that we have absolutely no idea where they are.
And to be clear, this is not thousands of students on an annual basis. I think since you're saying since COVID started.
Since COVID, there are thousands of students that we do not know where they are.
So since December 2019, or?
We certainly could pull and get the information, but yeah, we make every attempt to get in touch with families when they leave BPS or unenroll. And I think, certainly we'd be open to other ideas for how to better collect that information, because it is important information for us to know why families are leaving and where they enroll afterwards.
And we do have procedures in place by which when students, families leave, what schools should do and how to do.
What's frustrating about these hearings, right? And Drew, you weren't here back in 2020, I don't think. If you were, no, so you could just excuse yourself. You were not part of this. But Nate, you were. I asked about creating surveys, exit surveys, for us to learn why our families were leaving. This was before, the high, not even COVID, but just in general. And we still have yet 4 years into this conversation to develop a system that provides us with specific feedback as to why our families are leaving. So when we say we want to change the way we do business, but then we keep showing up without making any changes, then I have to question whether or not we're really serious about changing the way we do business.
Just if I could interject, Counselor, we do have procedures that when students leave the district, what should happen. However, sometimes, to Mr. Cooter's point, if families don't participate in providing that information, that's what we struggle with to really figure out why. So for the families that do.
It's been 4 years, Sam.
Counselor,
one thing is to struggle, and the other thing is to learn from that struggle. It's about having a growth mindset. When you know better, you do better. So we have to figure out why families are not participating and then fix the problem. Because it's 4 years that we've been talking about the same conversation and we haven't seen any change in terms of being able to track it. So either you guys are just yesing me and then not following up just so that we can get through the budget. But at some point, we're gonna have to meet the moment and find out why our families are leaving and then course correct accordingly.
So there's always room for improvement, Counselor, to your point. I just wanted to just note that there is a process and we have to get better at figuring out how we can get families to provide the information if they don't provide it.
Yeah, so this will be my last comment, and this is probably one of the reasons why I find this to be so frustrating, is as the education chair, I have been extremely patient, as you can see from my performance this time around. But it is really difficult for me to sit here and keep asking the same questions and not seeing results. At some point, people have to understand that that's why people don't trust the system. It's because we get yes to that, then we pass the budget, and then what? We come back a year later and ask the same questions, and then hear the same thing. And I bet you if I go back to the tape from 2020 when I had this conversation, y'all be saying the same thing to me. That feels disrespectful. And that's how families feel when they're navigating a system that they don't really feel sees them. And so I'm just naming it because I think we have an opportunity to change it. And whatever that looks like, let's invest in that change. Let's put the tool together. Let's put a working group together. Let's do something so that we're not coming back next year and I'm asking the same question. Yes, we got to do better, but when are we going to do better? When?
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. I do have a letter to Councilor Mejia's point. I think that, if you can submit your response in writing in terms of what your plans are. So far, what have been your steps to resolving this issue? I know that obviously, ultimately, it's the parents, it's in the family's responsibility, but if BPS, obviously, if the numbers are declining post-COVID, and we understand people are getting, people are depressed, people are dealing with health issues, people are suffering losses, and people are also dealing with socioeconomic issues, right? So if you can send in writing your sort of plan or what you've been doing to work on it, I think that will suffice. In terms of, I just have to read this letter of absence from Councilor Murphy into record. Dear Chair Fernandez Anderson, I am writing to inform you that my absence during this morning's City Council's hearing on FY23 budget regarding Boston Public Schools. A representative from my staff will be listening in the fall and following up with me. I look forward to reviewing the footage and follow up on specific information I have questions about. I sincerely regret that I could not attend this hearing and this morning as an unpredicted circumstance arose. Thank you, Councilor Murphy. I also wanted to just acknowledge that I know that BPS and families and counselors are with the, or trying to resolve the issue with the young boy who is missing, Mohammed Fofana, and our prayers and my prayers to the family, inshallah, that this boy is found immediately and bring him home safely. John, I do apologize. We were closing. Is it okay to send your testimony in writing? We did not get any, the testimony section of this part is closed. We have 5 other hearings to hold on for BPS. It's never 2 minutes with you, John. The testimony is finished, it's closed. I'm asking if you could do it in writing or if you could testify in another BPS hearing that is another 5 coming up.
I appreciate that, but I would like to get the 2 minutes that I deserve to get from taxpayers.
The testimony section of this hearing is closed. Yes, it's been closed for over an hour now. And I would like to clear the chamber for the next person. But 2 minutes, sure, John. We would like for you to testify early on. Yeah, I'm so sorry that
We didn't
did
notice
not
it. I'm sorry.
get communicated. Don't bring it to me now.
Basically a positive person, so I'm not going to get negative here. My name's John Provenzano. I live in South Boston. I have 4 family members that are teachers in the Boston Public Schools and the charter schools. My first comment, well, I would answer Councilor Mejia's question as to where the kids have gone. And I could tell you, I could give you a list of the kids that have backed out of the Boston Public School, not because of the way they're being taught, but because of the discipline. The discipline is not in the Boston Public Schools. There's a lot of incidents that don't go untold that would make my family, including my family, 3 great-grandkids that are pulled out of the Boston Public School, 1 out of and 1 granddaughter that's been pulled out. So the answer to Councilor Mejia, who I respect very much, and I can understand your frustration, but it's not these people, it's not their fault that that's been happening. It's parents' faults. That's where the parents, and I'll give you an example of my kids growing up. When we went to parent-teachers meetings, do you know what most of the teachers would say? Why do you people keep coming? You people are your kids are doing excellent because we give them 100% of our time. It's the parents that don't get involved with the Boston Public Schools. It's not these people. These people are the experts. between finance and expertise like Superintendent Skipper, who I have all the confidence in the world, and I know her personally through my children that are teaching and what's happened with the Boston Public Schools. So that's part of what you have to deal with. I won't go through all of this if you don't want me to, Chairperson. I appreciate you even just allowing me the couple of minutes, but if I give you one more thing, safety. Safety in the Boston Public Schools. We know what's happened all over this country, and I pray to God every night that that's not going to happen here. When I come into this building, I go through a metal detector. If I go in to see any of the councils, I can't get through there without going to that metal detector first to get into the building. You need that in the Boston Public Schools. Councilor Flaherty had a meeting not too long ago, and I watched it on TV because I couldn't make it, but it was to do with the safety in the Boston Public Schools. And the young girls that were testifying were talking down the Boston police instead of talking about getting them into the schools to protect our kids. They were talking down the police, and that was disgusting to hear. One more little part about that. Growing up, and then my kids had this when they went through the whole Boston Public School system. We had something called Officer Friendly. Every elementary school, and you get into high school, it's a lost cause. But between the first grade and the sixth grade, to have officer friendlies in the schools, to talk to the kids, to make them realize what these police officers are all about, teaching them how to cross the street with a red and yellow light, simple things, and they related to them, and they grew up with them. What we're seeing now is people are talking down the Boston police, and that's disgraceful. So I won't take any more of your time. I hope I answered your question, Councilor Mejia, because that's where the kids have gone. The parents that are interested in education are pulling them out of the school system. And that's a negative for me, but that's the fact. I could give you a list of all of them. So I had a couple of things, but I want to thank you people for being here. If you could pass that on to Superintendent Skipper to keep doing what you're doing. When the counselors talk to you about, I can't understand this. When the counselors talk to you about, give me the racial balance of how many black, how many brown, how many Chinese, how many white, get colorblind. The experts are here. The experts are in the system. It's not their fault. It's the fault of the parents. That's where it goes. If you could send a letter out every 3 months to the parents to show up, to talk to the teachers that are teaching your children, we'll be doing a lot better than what we've been doing in the last 20, 30 years. 30
Thank
years.
you,
My
John.
kids have been out for so long. Oh, one more thing.
Thank you, John.
On the college thing,
That was 5 minutes. Thank you, John.
Thank you. I put my kids in my car and drove them around to the Boston College High School, to UMass, to Boston Latin, and show them where they could go. That's the answer to the question which you were talking about me here. I respect you a whole lot. And that's part of the thing, is the parents getting out there showing, I want you to go to that school. I want you to go to that school. My son, I was going to send him to
Thank you,
Boston
John.
Latin. Oh, all right. Anyway, they all ended up going to good schools, and it was because their parents stayed
Thank you,
involved
John.
with them. Thank you for giving me that time. I owe you.
That is your time. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I know that we all have to go. We all just got some bad news. So this hearing is dismissed. I'll update those of you watching at home. I'll update you on what's happened.